Hey, welcome to City of Towers on Happy Jacks RPG. My name is Jason, and we are playing D&D in Eberron, doing a little bit of an experiment using the 2d10 option instead of the die 20. So that is a little bit about what we're doing. Let's go around and say hello while I fix my suddenly awkward camera. Eli, go.
Hi, my name's Eli. I'm playing Alaebas, wood elf Paladin. And I just want to say that this stream is sponsored by Jillian's Hard Cider, Black and Blue. It's delicious.
It's not. We're not sponsored by them, but we would be happy to be. And if they would like to send us any money, please address it to happyjacks.org slash. I don't know. I lost the joke.
/ sponsor.
Yeah, something was going to happen. Contact our legal department. And Pooja.
Hi, I am Pooja. I am playing Zay, a changeling blade soul sorcerer.
Excellent. Rob?
Mi amo is Rob. I am playing Ventuz, who is a Loxodon Warlock with connections to the old ones. Not the new ones, the old ones.
Yeah, the old ones are better anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, seriously, if you compare, like, the original Saved by the Bell cast to, like, Saved by the Bell, the new class, the old ones are far superior.
It's nothing. It's
Oh
nothing.
God. Can we not talk about the new class? Can we just kibosh that particular thing?
Absolutely.
No.
For anybody who has never heard of Loxodons, I had not either until a couple weeks ago, but they're basically giant elephant people.
Yeah. And they are from the Magic the Gathering setting. We're not using any of the setting material from like the what do you call it? Like the lore of Loxodons, aside from them being from the jungles of what do we say, the Valinor Plains, I think.
Yeah, it's the plains.
Yeah, the plains and jungles of that region, where halflings are known to ride dinosaur mounts. So. That seemed like a reasonable part of the world to, there are desert elephants and there are jungle elephants, and your folk come from jungle elephants.
Indeed, they do.
Jungle elephant. Jungle elephant. Yeah. Jungle elephant. What?
The perfect segue. The next person on our list was singing. Claire.
Hi, I'm Claire. I play Nyx, who is a changeling mastermind rogue, and I'm very excited to see where we're going.
And sometimes Claire sings. So
I do sing. Yes, I sing.
We also have a fun little detail of the dice roller being streamed out. That's that bit of text right below my face if you're watching along. If you're just listening, well, you can't see it. So
Well, you wouldn't have seen the dice rolls anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, I guess it's no loss, really. It's the same situation we were in before. If we get annoyed with it, we'll delete it and go back to rolling dice on our tables, but we're trying out something new. So I hope you enjoy. We've always liked being one of the few streams that actually shows all our dice and, not really fudging rolls and things like that. And I think, a lot of folks have told us that they like that feature of Happy Jacks, and I personally am in favor as well. So I think it's nice to be able to have something like this. So we're trying out rolls.org? Question mark? Yeah, rolls.org.
Yes. With a Z.
And it is, I have no idea if the folks there are lovely or not lovely, but the website's working so far, so hopefully they don't turn out to be jerks. So I don't know. Okay, so why don't we just jump in and then we can deal with mechanics as we go. Last time, we stole a great big painting, snuck it over to your friend at House Orion. Was it Corvus? Corbin Dallas.
Corvus
Corvus.
Orion.
Orion.
Corvus Dallas.
Yeah.
Corvus Orion.
Yeah.
Corvus Orion.
Yeah. And dropped the painting off with the staff at the house and said that it was for them. And went to have a drink at the local bar and met a half-orc and his undead, formerly half-orc, still his sister. And I guess she's still she's just a dead half-orc. You don't stop being a half-orc. So, yeah, she's a dead half-orc.
She's an undead.
Undead.
She's half dead.
Sure.
She's half dead, half orc.
Mostly dead.
Like when you just say dead, it sounds like he's carrying around her corpse.
Oh yeah, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
She's life adjacent, guys.
He was alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a breather.
Ugh.
Breather.
Ugh.
No, we're not gonna. That term is adjacent to something that's.
That we're not gonna say, yeah.
Okay, so he and his sister they both were in a bit of an argument with the tavern owner, and you all felt compelled to get involved, like you do, and.
Like one does.
Yeah, and I mean I can't blame you really. It was pretty ugly what was happening there. So the scene turned out the bartender was happy to let you have a table. I mean she wasn't super happy about it, but it happened. And
it happened.
You had a sit down with these two. You got to learn a little bit more about them, their mission from the town of Brine, to come in and form some sort of business relationship in the city with one of the major dragon-marked houses. And no, wrong folder. I'm multitasking. Okay, there we go. Finally, getting my notes open. Oh, cool. There's 3 sentences. Thanks, past me.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
Yeah. So anyway, the group of you sat down and had a chat with them while Alaebas, your paladin, sat at the hearth and played music for the tavern until a group of ruffians burst into the bar and wanted to say, "Hey ho, no zombies," and then we all took issue with that. So there a fair amount of hijinks ensued, and I highly recommend going back and listening to episode 1, if only for a foot being stapled to the floor.
Wherein I did 16 points of damage to a foot.
Yeah, but no spoilers.
No spoilers.
It just, you wanted to make sure you got your footing and... you
always want to start things off on the right foot.
Yeah, and get your foot in the door and be able to.
They got towed.
You got to put the left one in.
Yes, and then
you got to toe the line.
Thank you. There we go. Okay, we're all done, folks. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. It's been great. Yeah. We're already canceled. Kimmy's calling me right now.
So. The fight ended up with you beating up these guys, sending them on their way, and did we say what happened exactly after that? I think you invited them back to Nyx's place.
I thought we were still in the middle of combat, but maybe I'm misremembering.
I thought we ended right as the combat ended.
Yeah, the end of combat was the yay, let's go.
Okay.
Back to Nyx's house because
you
volunteered your place for them to stay.
Yeah, that's right.
We
and I was like,
got to
we
that
do? That's right. Okay.
By we, I mean I think. I'm pretty sure I volunteered your place.
No, that's great though. So the I guess the 6 of you are back at Nyx's place. I think it was the sort of thing where it was already kind of late, and you 4 had a big day. Stiv and Gore had had a pretty rough day as well, and probably crashed out. And we could pick up at a morning scene if that makes sense for everyone.
Sure.
Okay. So also anything that you used up, you can use the long rest button on your D&D Beyond character sheet. Another group that should be sponsoring us, because we really like D&D Beyond here. And
Is that under? Where is that?
the long
It's
rest,
up at the top.
yeah, right next to the campaign name.
That's right. You click on your character and long rest.
Yeah.
Long
So
rest.
in the morning, the
Hey, Jason,
yeah.
before we get to that point, I'm a little fascinated with Stiv and how she sleeps. Like, does she sleep? Is it like the elven sleep? Is it like or is it just passed out, snoring in an awkward position the way most half-orcs go to sleep?
I don't know if it's fair to say most half-orcs, but so you're going to stay up and spy on them?
Not stay up and spy, just not go to sleep as quickly as everybody else.
And watch them as they go to sleep.
And be aware of the situation. Because I'm not going to like lurk over and be like, hey, sleep yet? You know.
Sure. So I guess the scene that you come across is Gore stretched out on Nyx's couch, I guess. I don't know what we've got. I don't think it's a big place with a lot of guest rooms, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, I would say there's probably a lot of nooks and crannies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think like a mountain cabin where there's like 3 beds in each room, and there's really only like 4 bedrooms, but
Sure.
you can sleep 12.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So, Ventuz, what you see is we'll have them crash out in the living room this time, and Guar is stretched out on the couch, head back, actually having a bit of a snore, and his sister is sort of half reclined, like she's sitting on the floor with her back against the couch, and her head tipped back and her eyes are closed, not snoring because she doesn't breathe, and it, like, for all intents and purposes, looks like a dead body at at her brother's feet, but she's like on the floor leaning back against the couch. It does look like she's resting, maybe forever.
So she's taking the long rest.
The longest
longest
rest, yeah, I think
rest.
is
Longest
what that's
rest.
called. Yeah.
She sleeps like the dead.
Yeah.
So in my
At least
notes,
like the dead used to before the necromancer showed up and brought them all.
yeah, that's fair.
Right.
In my notes, I actually did write, Stiv looks like she's dead asleep.
Yep. Factually accurate. Okay. So the sun comes up the next day just like it always does. The
Thank God.
yeah. Surprise.
Yay!
You never know.
What are the 4 of you up to?
Well, I'm making breakfast for everybody.
Okay, so you're in the kitchen. Ventuz.
I'm sleeping a little bit longer than everybody else
Okay.
because I was up a little bit later than everybody else. So I am slow. I am lumbering awake at the moment.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. I don't have it.
I think Alaebas would be helping Nyx prepare the breakfast.
Okay. And
Okay.
Zay?
I am gonna chat with our new friendly peoples, Stiv and Gore.
Yeah, okay. So they're, sort of getting squared away in the morning. Gore has more, like, he's going around and using the facilities and whatever, and Stiv is just kind of like getting up and going through her things. Like, she has a big backpack that she's like a rucksack kind of thing that she's carrying around, and is, I think probably when you come out, she's cleaning the firearm that you had noticed last time, and has it in like 4 distinct pieces on a little low table there by the couch. And yeah, seems like that's what's going on.
Cool. So, did y'all have a specific contact in House Thrashk?
Well, potentially we there was some conversation, and Gore comes back in the room and sits down, and like I said, 3 of you are sitting there chit-chatting. Oh, Ventuz, were you in there going in the living room with them, or what? I forget what you said you were doing.
Yeah, I am, but it's more of like a sleepy, like it's one of those things that they're fully engaged in conversation by the time I roll out.
Okay, and Alaebas, where did you say you were?
He would be going in between the table and Nyx.
He's doing as little as he can, as I can let him do, while letting him feel like he's helping.
Yeah.
So he's like setting the table and getting drinks for everybody.
Oh, okay. You don't want Alaebas helping out?
I'm kind of basing this particular thing off my particular thing, which is that I don't like help in my kitchen. So
okay.
So I think Nyx is just like, no, I got this. Here, can you grate this cheese for me? Can you crack these eggs for me?
Okay.
Cool. But stay away from the sauce.
So it's not because it's Alaebas, it's because it's a person.
Yeah, because it's my kitchen.
Yeah, okay. Got it. All right, so in the living room, I'm sure, Nyx, you can hear the conversation going on. It's not a mansion. But they, long story short, because I don't want to have a whole like back and forth of me being 2 people and having to belabor that point. But the short version is that they had a preliminary contact with someone in House Thrashk. They're wanting to work with them, but what they know, and this actually rings true for sort of rumors that you've heard around the city, is that House Thrashk is kind of, it's not as well regarded. I think we said last time it is like in the top 4, 3 or 4 like big houses, but that means when they drop a notch, it's a big deal, as opposed to like the bottom 4. There's like 9 or 10 houses or something, 12, I think. When they jockey around the bottom, like nobody cares, it's like, yeah, you guys all suck.
It's like the minor leagues versus the majors.
Right. And so in this case, this is, a major house has, they've just always had to struggle because House Thrashk is based in the country of Drome. It is colloquially known as the country of monsters. It's the place that is primarily peopled by hobgoblins and half giants and harpies and all kinds of folks who are often not welcome in other parts of the world. And so it's also a major place for orcs and half orcs and that sort of thing, just because there have been generationally conflict and tension with those groups. So Drome is also the seat of power for House Thrashk because that house is primarily orcs and half-orcs. There's also a bunch of humans and other folk in there, but that's their primary thing. They're based in Drome, and that is, here in Sharn is looked down on for the most part. Like the average person sees it as, oh, well, they're, criminals and monsters. So, they've just worked hard to get to where they are, and we don't have to like it, sort of thing. So with that background, Stiv explains that they had a sort of preliminary, not anonymous, but private communication with somebody from House Thrashk that said they want to help, but if they helped right now, their impact, like their ability to help, would be diminished because they're already getting shat on. But if they could, the way Stiv puts it is, if they could make House Orion look bad, which is the primary competitor to House Thrashk, because finding a path and going places are relatively competing like House Thrashk are often wilderness guides, survivalists, also like investigators and detectives and that sort of thing. And as was pointed out last time, bounty hunters and that type of thing. But they are not as prestigious as House Orient. And so Stiv explains, maybe more in character now, she says, so our goal was to find some way to lower House Orient in status and therefore raise House Thrashk the best thing we came up with was if House Orient were to lose something important and House Thrashk recover it and return it to them, then it would be a major feather in Thrashk's cap if they were seen to visibly help House Orient and them needing their help. If that makes sense.
It does. Sounds complicated.
Yeah.
But, it's a thing. Did your contact know of something House Orient had lost that they would need recovered?
Well, we were able to think of something that if it were to go missing would be a big deal.
And what would that be?
She looks to Gore and he sits up and kind of sets out some things on the coffee table because he's obviously sort of a kinesthetic learner and is much more gestury than his sister is. And he's arranging some things, and you realize he's sort of making a little train out of like the salt and pepper shaker and a book that was there. And he says, okay, so
just to scale.
No, I'm sorry. For the crudity of the model, I didn't have time to make it to scale. You're familiar with the lightning rail, I assume. And of course, all of you would be. Out of character, who doesn't know about the lightning rail? Should I explain a little bit?
Maybe for our viewers.
For the viewers.
Yeah, for the people at home.
Yes, for the people at home. So the lightning rail is a hover train, for lack of a better term. It's a like hover monorail that goes pretty fast, but not like bullet train speed, right? But it is hundreds of, it's probably 400 or 500 miles an hour when it really gets going. It's on a like sparking track railroad. I can't really share images in this format, but if you Google lightning rail Eberron, you will see all kinds of cool train pictures come up. They often, they harvest a lightning elemental or they harness a lightning elemental and have them work on the train for momentum, but they also provide power through an alchemist's hot stone. And so in the context of this, sort of steam-powered magical economy, a hot stone is really, it's not like a complicated magical object, but you put it in water and it boils the water. And if you have a boiler, that generates power, right? Like it turns the cranks and does, it's basically like a nuclear reactor without nuclear material. And the magic and the stones run out and you got to get a new one or get it recharged or whatever with alchemy. They're relatively expensive, but they're so niche that it's not like there's a huge market for them, right? Like most people don't need a hot rock to like run their business or whatever. Like you're not going to be able to run a whole city on one, and you don't need one for your house. That's overkill. So House Orient uses these in their trains, and it would be extremely embarrassing if one were to go missing. One, because that train would halt and be visibly, a visible disruption in service. It would look like incompetence on the part of the train operators, and it's something that should be easier to get than like breaking into a vault or something. It should be somewhat more accessible. That's our loose plan.
I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, how does this specifically help House Thrash look better? I understand how it may help House Orion look poorly, but I'm not seeing quite the logic for making Thrash look better over Orion.
Yeah, Stiv cuts back in again and says, so in the simplest terms, which is grossly oversimplified, but our imagined process is stone disappears, Orion is embarrassed, give the stone to Thrashk to investigate and find. Thrashk publicly returns the stone to House Orion, thereby solving a problem and gaining status if everything goes according to plan.
Okay.
That's a big if.
I may have questions regarding that, but let me get to my second question. My second question is, do you want to start your commercial existence as a pawn between the houses?
I understand what you're asking, but
I feel like it's not so much start as continue. They have reason to go against to want to take House Orion down a peg.
Yes, that would be satisfying. We're not interested in assassinating anyone or causing that type of problem. But if we could stick one to House Orion, we have to make a deal with someone. There's no way for us to leverage our, we have empty ships and the houses control everything. So we have to have a relationship with someone, and House Thrash has made at least a preliminary offer. And if we could meet with one of them and get someone to officially agree to this plan, they might sponsor our ship. They would sponsor our shipping lanes and etc.
You need a foot in the door.
Indeed.
Would we be familiar enough with the various houses to know whether that house would even go for something like this? This is out of character.
Well, there's 2 parts of that. One is Stiv and Gwar are claiming to have had an initial contact with House Thrash that might be amenable to something like this. Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, depending on your personal prejudices, House Thrash are monsters and criminals. So it for the average person to think like, oh, are they going to pull off a train heist? Like, yeah, that's probably something they would do. But then it would also be double insulting for them to return the thing to House Orion, being these, very visible heroes like, don't worry, House Orion, we have saved you. So your question was, do we think House Thrash would go for it? I mean, if they had a way to knock Orion down a peg, like really any house would like to take a shot at House Orion. They're a big deal.
You want to make a god bleed.
Right. And if it most of the houses are not interested in, they're not like secretly mass murderers or, anything like that. So if they could do something in a demonstrable way, but I should also add, Stiv says like, this is our preliminary plan. If we're open to ideas, I'm inclined to trust the 4 of you. We have to get started somehow. And if we just don't trust anyone we meet here, it's going to take years to get anything going. And I want to kickstart our town.
But it seems like you have years now. Well, at least some of you do, right? If you don't have death to worry about, your timeline is infinite.
But the rest of our families aren't infinite, and our town and our country.
But it also seems like you're bending over backwards to try to get a foot in the door. Who knows what the next ask may be?
Which is why it's important to set your negotiator and to set your negotiations up front, which is what it sounds like they're trying to do, which makes sense to me.
Yes.
Not every deal is going to be ideal, but no, it makes sense. You have something that they need, which is an outsider's perspective. No one's going to suspect you.
Right.
Because they don't know anything about you. You have a grudge to settle, which also is like a icing on the cake. And it sounds like the groundwork's all there. You just need to actually meet with someone.
Right. And of course, the first question we asked when we were, initiating these conversations was, why wouldn't House Thrashk just steal a stone and return it on their own and make a big show? But of course, the risk of a house agent getting caught doing what we're willing to do would negate and then some, the point of the effort.
And
so
your secondary motive, the grudge that you already have against House Orion, makes you the perfect denial culpability agents.
Right. If we fail, House Thrashk is not at risk. It's our own problem, which I think would make the deal attractive to them.
Even if you succeed, you can still fail. They could use you as the scapegoat and how they got the item.
But they would just have they wouldn't accomplish very much. They will also be rewarded by doing business with us, but they need the incentive.
Also,
That's actually...
contracts are important.
Yes.
What you stated about them benefiting. Again, I go back to, I think you're being used as pawns. I think that you're being used as someone that can be thrown away. Is there any other house, maybe in the middle tier or lower tier, that would just accept you for what you bring to the table economically, to form that kind of long-term partner where the both of you can grow together, and you would increase the stature of their house as you bring in more economic opportunities?
Your youngins make me feel old. No, there is no house that can look past their own internal bigotry. There just isn't. People don't work that way.
I'm saddened by that.
I am saddened by it too, but I've lived with it my whole life.
So just out of character, Jason, like the economic standpoint, like, is this like a, I wouldn't say luxury, but is this like an easy access for them, or is like this is the only business they could possibly get?
Easy access for who?
For our friends, Stiv and Gore, like for their people, right? Like, is it something that like the only way they can be prosperous is they have to go through House Thrash, or like?
Oh, well, it's probably their best bet. If so, because House Thrashk is thought of as monsters, that if they partner with zombies, it's not going to be that big a hit to their reputation, versus any other house is gonna, like, it would be such a huge risk in risk versus reward, and from Brine and Karazosh's point of view, they have so much money that partnering with a smaller house is going to be nickel and dime compared to what they can potentially turn out. They want to partner with someone big enough that they could do business with, but all of the houses that are big enough are not interested. Like that. It's a sort of catch-22 that they're stuck in. Or at least that's what I should. I also want to state that as this is the in-character perspective that you've received. I don't want to issue too much as this is what is absolutely
This
true.
is how it is.
But
Yeah.
there, as far as like perspectives and social norms and things like that, that's the sort of overall thing. And I also want to be clear, I do not have a hard-coded train heist in the game, and if you guys want to do something completely different, that's fine. But that's the idea that Stiv and Gwar have come with, and they are endeared to you for saving them, or at least jumping in the fight with them at the tavern.
Well, listen, kids, if we help them out with this, at least we know how the thing works and doesn't.
True, we've already blown up the spoke. There's a saying where I come from. Better the field that you can grow into than the field that is too much for you to handle. And I think that applies here. I'm going to go get some breakfast. And I walk out of the room.
I'm just saying.
Does
I don't
anybody
truck with bigots.
Does anybody speak Ventuz? What was he trying to say?
Stiv also looks confused, and that's sort of an unusual expression for her. Gwar looks like he hasn't bothered to try to understand what Ventuz was saying, and is unbothered by not understanding it.
I just think you're asserting your people into a precarious situation.
It's mostly Stiv doing the talking here.
Mm-hmm.
You should understand, we're not here on some rogue mission. We have the bond of our Emperor family and the promise that we made to the mayor of Brine. We're not rogues in this. We're here to affect massive. I mean, it would be a global shift. This is not a little thing we're trying to do, and we're not under any illusion about that. And I don't know if I've been clear that any participation on your part would be grossly rewarded. That's a simple matter for us to arrange.
Nyx is chuckling to himself or themselves about the use of the word grossly. Because, they're undead. It's funny. Grossly rewarded.
They don't seem to get the joke. It also is worth noting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pooja.
No, I was just going to say, I do. You know what? Power struggles, like balance, shifting in power amongst the houses affords money and other opportunity as well. And Rand does need to be taken down a peg or two. The houses need to realize that it's more than about their own petty differences and bigotries.
I would also argue that their people have already been shoved into this by the actions of others. So trying to shield them from an action that it seems they've been charged with doing by their own people. I mean, the West, we can help them not get in trouble.
Other members of our nation are looking into what it would take to accomplish the same goals militarily. None of us want that option.
No, that's just messy.
It is. We don't want the war to return. But we're cut off and limited by what we can access. And we're going to succeed. So, because like anyone, we won't simply let our families languish and suffer.
No.
And we want to do this within the system that exists because it's extremely profitable and we are business people.
So I think what I'm hearing is you can do this the easy way or you can do this the hard way.
Yes, but I don't mean to mention that flippantly. I really mean none of us want that option. Only that we will not be permanently cut off from the world. That's an unacceptable outcome. And if we have...
Never imagined it would be.
If there is a last resort, then that is it. And none of us want that.
It seems like a win-win.
Well, I'll never turn down someone who needs my help. What say you all?
I'll say yes hesitantly. It seems that there are other options that could be weighed here. And it seems that those...
Such as?
There are other fields to tend to. And not just this one.
Such as?
Gives other names of houses that I don't know, that Alaebas would know.
I mean, the other houses have exactly the same problem with them that House Orion has, which is why they unceremoniously cut their contract. I know that you don't see what other people see in terms of when people look at you and they assume you're some kind of freak. And that your family doesn't matter. Or that you are gross or weird, so they don't have to do business with you anymore. But most people are like that. If Thrash is willing to be the exception, I'll stand by them. For this anyway.
I will support this. However, to Alaebas's point of view, I do think that there may be other opportunities, because my biggest concern is that once you start down a path of being a lackey for this greater house politics, then I don't think they will ever look at you as equals or of the standing that you deserve. So maybe there are options beyond doing things the way they have prescribed them for you, and that we can raise House Thrash without undermining House Orion. Now, don't get me wrong, House Orion is not perfect, despite what some of the crushes of people in our group may think.
Guar leans forward. Was somebody injured?
Crush as in...
It's not a crush. I simply respect them.
Oh, you mean romantic entanglement?
Yes, but there's no.
A one-sided romantic entanglement.
No, it is not one-sided. There's no romantic entanglement. I just think...
Is that why we ended up at that ball? I mean, if it was anything less than romantic entanglement, I'm just going to be mad about it.
You don't understand, and it's fine.
I didn't mean to
You don't
pry.
understand what we have.
I'm pretty sure only you have it.
Yes.
No one understands what we have. But I do think that I really strongly caution you that there could be other alternatives, and I think that I am willing to help
We are open to other ideas. We just haven't been able to. I mean, we didn't just start thinking about this yesterday. We've had months to consider who can support the volume of business we can deliver. The smaller houses can't. And that's the position we're in.
Hey, Jason, outside of like just the knowledge of the houses and us living in Sharn for the amount of time that we've lived in Sharn, what we know of House Thrash, obviously we know that they're looked down upon, they're slipping a little bit. Like, what's their biggest? What do they need the most? It sounds like they need a public win the most, right? But I mean, why, aside from the whole monster aspect of things, are they getting shit? Is there anything else? Or
well, I think you're underrating the whole monster house thing. That's like the war that just ended was like most of this continent against Drome. They survived because a bunch of monstrous groups, and I'm just using that term as opposed to humanoid, like elves and dwarves and humans. They sort of joined forces under the banner of several witches. There are 3 witches who run Drome. And so that whole thing, House Thrash is not beholden to the country of Drome, but a lot of people see them as the same thing. And so that's where a lot, like, they are only as successful as they are because they are just aggressively good at what they do. Like you have to get a guide, you would get them. There's just no alternative. And so they are the best at what they do.
So they need a really public win, and they need to not necessarily conform to other people's ideals of what a humanoid race should be or anything like that, but they need to get some of that acceptance.
Well, yeah, and the thing that they're, just the boiled down argument that they were making was, if House Thrash can be the hero to House Orion, that is embarrassing to House Orion and elevating to House Thrash. Again, that is their opinion and their point of view. I just want to make sure that I was outlining that. I don't want to state anything as solid fact because you all have to operate from what your character thinks.
No, yeah. I see that. And again, like, I think that where I'm struggling character-wise, not Rob-wise, character-wise,
sure, is
you don't have to raise yourself up by knocking somebody else down. I think there's a way to raise yourself up in and of itself. And I think that's where I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what can we do for House Thrash that will benefit House Thrash, as opposed to what can we do against House Orion that will benefit House Thrash.
Yeah, and that's totally, that can be germane to the conversation. They're just thinking, okay, House Thrash +1 is one thing, but a +1 and a -1 is twice as good, and also fuck you, House Orion. Just because that's the emotional place that they're in, and the lifting House Thrash up should be equivalent on its own merits if the if the playing field were in fact even, but the impression is that it might not be.
Okay, well, I think there's 2 ways to go about it. Is number 1, we go with the brine plan, or the Corvair plan, however you choose to define it. Number 2, maybe we do a little bit of research. Maybe we dig into something. Maybe we can see if there's something that House Thrash hasn't done yet, or hasn't done well, in order to ingratiate themselves with the greater Sharn society that will elevate their stature locally and perhaps find that inroad.
What it sounds like you're saying is that they haven't worked hard enough to
they need to-
convince the people who are prejudiced against them that they shouldn't be prejudiced against them.
No,
Therefore, not pulling themselves up enough by their bootstraps.
that's
I
not.
was literally right behind you with that.
That's not quite the direction that I was going.
But the burden, honestly, my feeling on it is that the burden to deal fairly falls upon everyone equally. And when one party decides that that's no longer a thing that they want, then it is not upon the other party to stretch that much further to attempt to accommodate.
I don't think we should do anything to accommodate House Orion at all.
But it's exactly what your other plan of is there something that House Thrash can do to set people's minds at ease, something they haven't attempted yet?
No, what I'm saying is there's an entire society in Sharn that isn't just the houses. There's the popular support. And frankly, many of these people go in and out of their day, and they're only worried about house politics and the bullshit that happens between them as much as it affects their lives.
Yes, and I'm sorry, did you miss what we walked into yesterday?
I was deeply involved, but
I mean, it seems to have slipped your mind.
no, I think that there are...
That it doesn't require any kind of action upon someone's part for someone to decide that they don't like your face. Whatever your face happens to be that day.
You're talking to somebody who can't fit into most doorways. I understand this. However, as opposed to going about it from a militant perspective or from an aspect where you're forcibly removing something from somebody in order to build somebody up, I strongly don't believe that's the way we can do it. I do believe that if we get the populist favor, so for instance, starting with the dock workers and realizing the ways that they may not know that this is going on and that they're being cut out of potential money-making opportunities. The people down below don't know what is going on above them. And so therefore, if we can get a lot of these people on Brian's side and on House Thrash's side, then everybody else will have to sit up and take notice. And it seems an easier way for House Thrash to make that deal with Brian's popular support.
I think what Zay is trying to say is how. I don't think we're necessarily married to this plan, but if we're going to poo-poo this plan, we have to come up with something else. You know, we can't just say no, we don't like that and leave it at that. So
no, agreed.
I'm perfectly amenable to coming up with something else that doesn't embarrass my corvée, but I think we need to. I think if we're going to do that, we need to do it and not just talk about it.
Okay, so my first thought is we can go down to the docks. We have a good relationship with everybody down here.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good relationship with all the stewards and the working class people.
Yeah, we do.
And we can almost. I'm not a huge fan of the Silver Flame, but how they went about gathering a lot of support was very intelligent and very well done. So let's take a page out of their playbook and start spreading the words of the benefit of brine. The cash from Corvair and utilize.
That's Karazosh. Corvair is
Karazosh.
the continent here. Yeah.
Sorry. The
That's fine.
cash from Karazosh. And
It actually works out better that way.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it does. Ching ching. And utilize the people to tell our story in order to gain the foothold that we need.
Well, my friends, what do you think?
Well, what? We need your help. But what it sounds like the options are, well, let's say a train heist, not to belittle how complicated and dangerous that is, versus
Fun. Don't forget fun.
and fun, versus affecting a sea change of the entire populace of the city to gradually increase the reputation, which seems like it would take a very long time, which is not necessarily the worst thing, but we would like to get things moving. It's been months since we've been able to bring imports for our families already, and it seems like if people wanted to like House Thrashk, they could have by now.
I mean, it's not like they are a newly formed house.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, there is kind of a joke there in that they're one of the youngest houses, but they're hundreds of years old. So, but that's out of character. That's
Yeah.
And we don't have the presence on the continent to establish a new house. If that was a secondary thought, I don't think we have the wherewithal to do something like that.
I mean, it takes more than just presence. It takes marks.
Right.
And the ability to not be wiped out or absorbed by the other houses before you even get your leg up.
Well, absorbed is something I think that we could all agree would be an amenable outcome.
No,
I mean, you say that, except you were the one who was
no, we
asking
don't.
them whether they wanted to be a pawn to the houses, and getting absorbed would be that.
That is not our intended outcome. We would like to have a business relationship with them, as many people do, not be folded into the house, but simply have a business partner big enough to create a profitable relationship with.
That makes sense to me. I mean, I understand the desire to want to make a living and protect those you call your own without being owned by someone else. Even business-wise, if not person-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the official count, there are in fact 13 houses, dragon marked houses. So, and also for anyone just listening in, the notion of the ranking and standings and whatever, this is largely established in the setting that we're building. It's not necessarily official canon or anything like that. So that's just in case somebody's going through the book, where does it say they're number 3?
Where does it say this?
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're just establishing that in our fiction. So, just so you know.
This is the story we're telling today.
Because we had also said House Lyrandar, the House of Storms, is the other kind of that those 3 are probably the top 3. Also, we can't tell a story about 13 houses, so
What?
A box on
well-
all 13 of your houses.
That's right.
Like, what are the economies like outside of Sharn? Like, why would Alaebas think that this is the only economy that they could try to get into?
Well, the continent, everybody has that world anvil map, right? Does anyone need that link again?
I'll put it in the chat.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So in this continent, even in the context of the post-war and everything else, the houses really, I mean, everything is related to house business. They control the economy. They control goods and services. You know, there are independent operators within that, but anyone who wants to do a reasonably large business at some point has to do business with these, you know, like in the real world, if you want to ship goods somewhere, you're going to have to partner with FedEx or UPS, you know, like you those are your options. And so like you could invent all your own trucks and planes and try to do all that, but it's just, you know, it's so impractical that that this is not.
They've already done it, so why
Right.
don't reinvent the wheel?
Right. So just, but I mean, it would be almost impossible even if you wanted to and had the wherewithal. I mean, the folks from Karazosh, it seems like they probably could afford to like create a new economy and do that, but it would cost so much to get that up and running that to just do business, at their level, separate from the dragon marked houses, is a really difficult proposition.
And also the time. I mean, how long does it take to set up like a large competing business? You're talking years.
Yeah, where we have I mean, this whole world is a big analog for, you know, capitalist competing societies, and so it's like kind of baked into the setting of what he wanted to create here.
I desperately want them to create DeadX.
I mean, I'm just saying we could make that happen.
Yes.
They could be DeadX.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what they want to be, is shippers. You know,
Oh, they and Nyx will get along real well.
I was like, Nick's supposed to be shipped too.
Oh, right.
I
didn't think of that.
ship them being shippers.
Yeah. I stand.
I stand it. I actually, out of game, I actually hate that because I think of the Eminem song "Stand," which is highly disturbing and not what you want.
Oh, I don't.
Anyway.
Yeah, I can't think of that song off the top of my head, but I trust you.
We'll take it offline.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not great.
Okay, so we have I think that's our long morning.
Yes, I'm
Yay.
hungry for lunch
Yeah.
at this point.
What I don't know if there was anything directly on the docket, because you guys had just finished a gig and you have some amount of money. We did that before, right? Like everybody rolled for their gold and then
Did we roll for? I don't
did
remember rolling for
starting.
gold. Oh,
what
we
I
did
remember
starting.
was
Yeah.
Okay.
Equipment.
So here's what I want to do.
Oh, yeah, I have gold.
Oh, but like how much?
I have 140.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right. What I was going to do is have you, roll your starting gold and then double it because you're level 4, and there's no way you rolled 140 for your starting gold. So,
No.
Barely, I have 400.
That's what we
gold.
did.
oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
got
yeah. If
420.
you've got that much, then we definitely did a calculation. So that's
Just
good.
because I don't remember it, by the way, does not mean it didn't happen. It
It's
just
the
means
same
I
for
don't
me.
remember
Yeah,
it.
my memory is trash. So always feel free to call me on that, unless your name is Rob.
Damn it!
Snap! Oh shit!
I'm not
I was
gonna
gonna
leave
say
that
we're
door
level
open.
Roll
6,
your
right?
What?
We're level 6, right?
No.
Said we were level 6.
No. Okay, so the yeah, what where do we go from here?
I think we figure out how to get the. Are there like plans that we can? Okay, so this is a stone that we're stealing, that we're thinking about stealing, right?
Well, yeah, if you want to do the train heist, getting the stone out of a lightning rail engine car would be a pretty dramatic, visible pie in the face to Orion. And it's not like a nuclear reactor. Like if you take that out, it's gonna blow up and hurt people. Like it's just gonna like and stop working. So it's not dangerous, except there are certainly guards on the train, and like it is sort of inherently dangerous. You're robbing someone, but that it depends on how you want to go about that.
Well, so the first, I mean, as a mastermind thief, the first, and when they say that, everybody's eyes just roll to the back of their head.
Oh, that was an in character. Okay, fantastic.
Oh yeah. As a mastermind thief, I know that the first thing one must do when one is planning a heist is to plan. So we need information. We need to know the schedule. We need to know how many guards. We need to know, what maybe which are the older trains that have less security that we can skank it out. And we need to figure out how we're going to get off the train once we have the stone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This is Stiv sits forward and says, well, we have done some preliminary research, but again, you will have probably better context for this information than we would, and we're not, this is just what we've been able to discover. But what it looks like, it'll be super helpful if everyone has the map open.
I will open the map. I also, again, in the same voice, I look at, is it Styx?
Stiv.
And I say, are you aware of what we did last year?
No, I'm not, but I would like to hear more about that. It sounds ominous, and I like it. Oh, and would somebody mind dropping the World Anvil link into Twitch chat? I don't have that open right now.
Done and done.
Thank you.
Well, Rob's on it anyway.
Awesome.
Or was. It's 5 minutes ago.
Awesome. Oh, I thought he was saying for you guys he was doing that. I meant for the viewers.
No, he did it for both of us.
Oh, awesome.
Apparently.
Hooray.
Eli did it for us. I did it for them.
Ah.
Delegation of tasks.
Fantastic.
Why do things once when you can do them twice for twice the price?
We got you, boo.
So, Sharn is all the way in the bottom left corner. There's a
Southwest.
Yeah, southwest corner. Thank you. There's the Dagger River, and the Hilt Crossway is like a fjord, pining for the fjords.
Pining for the fjords.
And Sharn is there on the cliffs. For the most part, we know there's the dock that's all the way down at the water and is sinking a little bit, and then there's just these spires that go up from there. Floating levels of the city and all kinds of stuff. So, Sharn, where it is right next to, so those, thicker brown lines, hold on. Those lines are the lightning rail. So the line that goes from First Tower to Zilspar, right? That's a lightning rail, train line.
Nice.
And, so, Stiv rolls out a rough map of what, of this region. And she says, okay, so, Zilspar is primarily a, fishing and mining town, but it's like kind of a cute, tourist place, right? And the train that goes through here is occasionally, many business people take the train from Sharn to Trollenport, but traveling through Zilspar and Xanthus on the way it's not as direct as taking an airship. So the most prestigious business travels by airship. But this train is very effective, and sometimes the wealthy will have their own train car attached to the train. Like, you know, set it down and like couple
Is there
it.
an ocelot on the car?
I don't know. I don't know what the
Oh,
word
okay.
is. Sorry.
It's Archer.
Oh, right. Okay. So anyway, you can, you know, the very wealthy who don't even want to pay for first class, they could just have their personal lightning rail car attached to the train and just ride around. The Howling Peaks loop is, you know, you could go all the way up to, you know, near Mist Marsh, you know, through Rote and back down to Sharn. So people will travel back and forth on this. There is some like commute from Sharn to Trollenport. Trollenport being the capital of Zilargo, and that is the region there. The Shimmerwood Forest is all like evergreen kind of forest, right? Not jungly. It's very much like cedar, redwood, you know, massive trees, but you know, that type of thing. But anyway, Stiv lays out that, you know, somewhere along, so the trip from First Tower to Zilspar is there's a lot of, like, you're still very close to Sharn, and there's a lot of there are lots of little towns and farms and lots of things around that are maybe inconvenient to do something near. But from Zilspar to Xanthus is quite a bit more remote. And actually, a lot of people take this train sometimes just for fun because it's a really pretty ride. And so this whole, like that whole peninsula, or at least corner, I don't know if you call that a peninsula or not, but
I mean, it's covered, but it's surrounded by water on three sides. So
yeah, so it's sort of a fat peninsula.
hey, who you call it fat? Just joking.
This peninsula.
Peninsula shame.
It's thick. It's thick.
Yeah.
How about that? That's a better word.
THIC.
Yeah, I shouldn't use that word. But she says, in the place where the SH of Shimmerwood Forest is, she says, under there is a little known maintenance platform that the train doesn't usually stop at. But we think it could be a place to access either on or off, and could be an inroad. Like I said, we've been making these plans from remote, and we need people who know the region and know this area better and know more about the trains. But the one thing we were able to find from an interview was this little used maintenance platform in that corner of the trip, where the train generally doesn't stop from Zilspar to Xanthus. It is just one long haul, but apparently out on that cliff, there is a platform to use of some kind.
That does seem quite promising.
Would it be helpful if the six of us maybe just took a ride?
Very.
Can we get lunch first?
Yes. I mean, and we would be happy
You get
to...
lunch on the train.
We'd be happy to pay for your accommodation,
Train food.
of course. Oh, well, you may not be familiar. We have had an opportunity to read about the first class accommodations on the train, and apparently they're somewhat better than what's generally available on the train. Unless you're referring to the first class food and it actually is bad, we haven't been on the train yet.
Oh, well, you should definitely be on it. So either way.
If it's first class train food, it's probably good.
Well, perhaps just to make this official, it seems like, well, I'll use this term loosely, but it seems like we can trust you, and I want to. So I'm going to for now. This is all Stiv talking. Gor's like, yep, I guess.
Okay.
It's not a deep thinker. So she says, I want to offer you something up front, at least for your consultation and your kindness. And maybe something like this could get us started. And she takes an emerald out of her, just jacket pocket. It's probably like a $50 at the top. And then it's like a pointy, like that classic diamond cut, right? But it's this just massive emerald. And she sets it on the low table and just does the little spins it like a top. And she says, I think that should be worth 400 or 500 gold, maybe as a retainer for the four of you to, start business with us.
Yeah.
Investigation. They used to have an appraisal skill. They don't have it anymore. Investigation. Would I be able to roll that? Maybe.
Yeah. Are you
trying to figure out how much it actually might be worth, or if it's real?
Let's just do this. Let's roll your intelligence bonus plus your. Well, are you trained in investigation?
I am.
Okay. Well, then that's the right number. So, you'll.
Okay. So I rolled an 8, but I get a +4, so it's 12.
Okay. So yeah, a 12 is good enough to be she's in the right neighborhood, right? She hasn't grossly over or underestimated. It will depend a little bit on what you can negotiate with a jeweler. Paying with gems is always, comes with a little bit of squiffy,
It depends on the dealer, because some of them are like, yes, please, and some of them are like, where did you get this?
Yeah, exactly. So that is but yes, her sense it just with a 12, I'm not going to give you an exact number, but she is in the right ballpark. It is between 400 and 500 gold. So she's offering you 100 gold each, basically, to get started, and they're going to pay for your first class accommodations on the train today, or tomorrow, or whenever you want to go.
And this is just a retainer. This is not final compensation.
No, it's like a thank you so far, and sort of be our guards and escort on the train, because we don't know, is somebody going to get pissed off about Stiv on the train? And they don't want to travel with an army because that's going to look bad.
Oh, they've got an army.
Yeah, they do.
We're ready to go.
I mean, literally, they also have another army.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
You have another army?
As a healer in the tank, guys, on the
But
Alaebas kind of leans in and says, I do not feel right taking this. We are friends, and I believe that what I do for you, I will want to do for you. And I feel that I also feel that if this goes a certain way, I want the ability to walk away.
Oh, I didn't mean for this to bind you in any way. We just want your escort on the train ride.
Then I do not need any payment.
How
about this, Alaebas? Why don't we donate your portion to a charity of your choice?
That is your decision on what happens with my portion, but I do this as somebody as I want to help out. I do this for somebody I want to help out.
I absolutely want to help out. I'm just not going to turn down 100 gold.
Alaebas, I hope I haven't offended you. That was not my intention, and I'm sorry that I have put you in this position. I won't offer you money in the future, and I'm sorry.
You can offer me money all you like, honey. And I take the gem and I put it in my safe.
I understand. It is always tricky doing business with one's friends, but I find one's friends still need to buy food at the end of the week. And she has like kind of like a wry smile to herself about that, because like she doesn't need to buy food at the end of the week,
Right.
but like we have the means to help as well, and if you're helping us, and that's kind, and we want to help as well, and you could put that money towards whatever you want. But again, you obviously know that, and I will not insult you further. I apologize.
I could see like a rewind between Ventuz and Alaebas, like on their travels to Sharn, that this probably has happened before, where he's kind of like, "Oh, we should probably get paid for this." And he's like, "Nah, we just did it to be nice," like that sort of thing.
It's
Nyx
funny
is
because
always go ahead.
I think I go both ways, right? Depending on how much it is, right? Like I'm generally supportive of just helping people, especially people that can't afford the support or the help, and just being generally good to people.
Right.
But I also think that in extraordinary circumstances, or if there's an opportunity to take finances from one spot and channel it to another spot where it's going to help more, like those are probably the conversations that I've had with you in the, well, hold on, they've got a big castle, let's hold on to this so that the next farming village we go to, we can.
And they've made no secret about their just gross wealth. They're, like, it's actually frustrating for them that they don't have a way to like channel this into business. Like that's the whole point of them being here, is like, we need to do business with somebody who can afford us. And yeah, so. So let's
I just had a like image of that scene in Pretty Woman. She's like, I've got all this money. Nobody take it.
I haven't seen that in ages.
Yeah, that's been a minute for me too.
I think just to plug back into the conversation. So Alaebas has turned down the payment, but their emerald, is still spinning on the table. And it also spins long enough that you could tell, like, oh, she must have like put a prestidigitation or something on it, because it's like, wow, that's spinning a really long time. What'd you say, Eli?
Yeah, it's like the top in Inception.
It's like the ending of Inception.
She obviously did a little bit of whammy on it to, just to make it look cool, because it's also really pretty. It's like a just gorgeous cut gem. So
when she does that, when we do realize that, oh hey, this is prestidigitation, like I just want to kind of glance at her really quickly. Like, does she come off as a big magic user? And if so, is there a way to figure out like what kind of magic?
Do you want to do detect magic? Do you have that spell?
No, I don't know.
I think he's just trying to figure out what her class is.
Let me see. Yes, that would be the short answer. Spells. I am clicking on the spells. Yeah, I don't have detect magic. That's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually fully stat out NPCs, so I don't know how much of an answer to give you.
What is she, Jason?
I mean, I could come up with something that fits if you want.
No, I don't care. But I mean, just if I watch her in battle,
she's a spy.
Just it's one of those things that like I'm curious. Like I'm naturally curious about people and stuff.
With prestidigitation, she could be a bard, or that could be a cantrip. Like there's a lot.
Prestidigitation is a cantrip, so
you could also
do it.
There's a feat that you could take to get a first level spell and 2 cantrips and be any class. So
I mean, literally anyone could be doing this.
Oh, and just to revisit it, I mentioned early on, in the world of Eberron, this is actually part of Eberron, not just my bullshit. Lots of people know a little bit of magic, right? It's like your average, like what's her face that runs the tavern? What did we call her?
Hold on, I have it.
Penty. Like she knows mending, right? And that's like she's always fixing stuff in the tavern, and that's like a common thing. And she never went to wizard school. She's not a sorcerer, but like your average person can, like, you can learn basic spells. You can go to, like in business school, you're going to learn a couple basic spells to get you through the day. So somebody doing prestidigitation, it's not going to tell you a whole lot about them.
All right, that's fair.
But detect magic would, because she definitely cast a spell. And if anyone wants to do detect magic, then that's fine.
I don't think I have
Or
any
you could
spells.
also just say, hey, how'd you do that?
Hey, why is it still spinning?
Yeah, is that in character?
Yeah.
Yeah, she says, I used prestidigitation. I think actually, so out of character, I'm thinking like, I think people just call things what they are. Like, I don't know why we would have to put a big flowery,
Right.
I bent the forces of reality by blah, blah, blah. I think we just call things what they are. So yeah, that was just me checking. So she says, I used prestidigitation. I hope that's not a misstep.
No, you're fine. I'm just curious. Always curious. I can't do any kind of magic whatsoever, so I'm always like, hey, how'd you do that?
It's one that I get a lot of use out of it. I appreciate
Sure.
it.
It's very handy.
Lunch?
Lunch on the train.
Ugh. Can we just get lunch and then go on a train?
Well, how about the four of you do whatever you need to do? We were going to go and buy some clothes and things because we traveled light to get this far, but we're going to need to be able to make an impression. And we could, give you the day and pick up afternoon to be on our way.
Makes sense.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, very good. We'll meet you at the Spoke after 3.
I cringe
Sure.
a little bit, but nod.
Yeah, we'll have to take the little train out to First Tower. Wait, what's it called? First Tower? No. Oh yeah,
That's what
First
it was.
Tower.
Yeah.
And that's the junction to get your transfer.
Hey, Jason, a question came up in chat. I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure. But the lightning rails go through the Mournland on this map.
Oh yeah.
Do they actually still operate through the Mournland?
So in my setting, no. Some people do
Okay.
that differently. But in my setting, the Mournlands are basically impassable. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know what's going on in there. Nobody has set up a reliable sort of back and forth through there. And so the path where you could just go from Kenrun to Gatherhold, you have to go either all the way up through Karnath or get on a boat to Valinor and go around. But the way that I'm using that setting is the Mournlands are basically like nuclear bomb out. It's just too dangerous to even try unless you had like a we've discovered a way to protect yourself in the Mournlands and it will probably work. Then you might be willing to go out and test that and try it a little bit, because also, I mean, the person who can brave the Mournlands and come back, and that would be you'd be a hero. Right? To like go in and come back with information about that would be epic. So, yeah.
New plan. We go to the Mournlands.
Hey, I mean, if you were able to reopen the lightning rail through the Mournlands, the House Orion would owe you forever. Like, they would make you gentry.
So according to this key, the orange line is the lightning rail and the brown line is a road.
Oh, well, not anymore.
In case anyone wants to actually ask later.
Oh, okay. There is a road and a lightning rail. So, there it is. And the orange line is like the express lightning rail. So there.
Jason don't follow no one's legend.
Do what
Shoot.
I want. Well, what's funny is, like, I've had conversations with Keith Baker before, and he's the first one to do the same thing. He's like, I know that's what it says in the book, but I'm going to do this. Like, it's your book, dude.
It's your game. You do what you want.
Yeah.
I just, because we, like, so helpfully linked everyone this map.
Yeah, no, totally fair question. It's such a high-res, gorgeous map. I don't know
It is beautiful.
who built this, who the World Anvil people are, but I'm real glad they did it, because it's rad. So why don't we, we'll go ahead and take our break a little bit early and come back. So, folks, we're going to just step away for 5 minutes and keep it as close to that as we can. We're not real good at counting, so it might not be exactly 5 minutes, but we will, after these messages, be right back. There's no message, it's just the title. See you in a second. Hello. Welcome. I guess welcome us back. You were always here, and now we're back. We love you.
We do.
Truth.
Yeah, whether you're watching live or later, we really appreciate it, actually. Just a
Yep.
moment of sincere affection. This is really nice.
I mean, if we didn't have our viewers, we wouldn't have any reason to do all this. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
really...
like it's a little bit of a to-do to get this thing going and be online for y'all, and y'all make it worth it, because it's really sweet and nice to be able to do this for you. So,
Yep.
Anyway, let's kill some kobolds or something.
Yeah,
Kobolds are people too.
kobolds.
They are people, actually, and I always get annoyed with those types of campaigns. Okay, so the afternoon passes. It's time to go to the train. If there's anything you want to let me know you're doing ahead of time, that's great. But I don't want you to feel like I'm not going to come at you and go like, oh, you didn't tell me you brought all 8 crossbow bolts, so you didn't. Like that's not how we do. But also know that the train is going to ask you to like check weapons into a thing, and then they give it back to you when you get where you're going. That's a thing that they ask you to do. So especially in first class. So that's just be aware. But in general, if it's a thing that you have or would have access to, I'll just assume you have that, even though you're traveling.
What about my simple little eating dagger?
No, that's not a thing. Because it's not actually medieval times. This is extremely civilized fantasy world.
So is this dinner or tournament
I don't. Oh, right.
as opposed to dinner
Woof.
and tournament?
We're just gonna let that go and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, as far as this map it goes, it looks like the big squares are about 500 miles across. So, the scale is kind of shifted off to the side, but it looks like it's roughly 500 across. So, if we say,
Oh, those squares. Okay.
oh yeah, the big square.
Okay.
So from Sharn to Zilspar is 250 to 300 miles with some of the squiggles.
Sure.
What was that?
I just said sure.
Oh, okay.
Oh, like one. I was at 150.
Yeah, I
200.
guess it's not really half a thing, is it? But anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you were the one who brought up the scale.
Yeah, no, it is. We could. That's why I wanted to do that. You cannot have a meaningful campaign without time records or distances and rations eaten. That's a lie. I don't actually think that's a meme.
Okay.
It's such a meme.
I'm gonna have to look that one up because I haven't
Oh
seen
god,
that.
it's such a good one.
Yeah, just look at meaningful time records. That's the kicker. Or meaningful campaign. So the hustle and bustle to get on the train is extensive. However, you've been invited to go in through the first class terminal, which is a very different experience. Before we go in there, which of you have taken the lightning rail anywhere before?
Uh,
I mean, Nix, it's almost impossible that you've never taken the lightning rail
yeah. Yeah, I feel like I definitely would have taken it at some point.
since you grew up here.
Yeah.
And there are cheap tickets to take the lightning rail. It's not only for rich people. It's just there is a section that is only for rich people, and it
Like
is-
in most things.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like this thing that only a few people can use. That the house likes having its influence out there, and they definitely make that available. So the times that you've taken it, you did the whatever general admission. It's not standing room, but it's like getting on a train in Europe, where you've got a couple seats on each side, and you've got some basic food options and whatever. Plus,
It's like, here is your $3.50 bag of chips.
yes, exactly. But they're magic chips, so it's okay. But
really not.
The first class experience is, they take your bags, they let you know where your cabins are, and you actually have like they're not big, but like the cabins they had like 6 kids in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So you have like one of those each, right? So there's like a fold down thing. I mean, it's first class. It's not the luxury suites, but it is a first class. It's a private room with a basin and it's to yourself. So
I'm gonna shift my appearance before we go out there to meet them to be more in line with a rich person, basically.
Same.
It's gonna be like a like shift my features to be more in line with half elf rather than just human.
okay.
And I am gonna change my top. My outfit is similar cut to like the silver I wore before, but it's like a one shoulder version that'll
No,
show off part of my dragon mark.
Okay. And I just want to be clear, that will be, unless you're going to tell them that you're someone else, that's going to tell Stiv and Guar your species.
I'm just not gonna say anything to them about this. It's just gonna be like here is a person, and unless they ask.
Yeah, and I'm actually not going to shift my. I'm just going to change my clothes so they look more upscale.
Okay. So I'm
And if
just
they ask,
thinking,
I can cross that bridge.
yeah, okay, because it... okay, yeah. So the 4 of you meet up at the station, and Stiv and Guar are there. They're also both dressed up much more nicely than they were before. Not necessarily like millionaire fancy, but not the sort of road clothes that they were in before.
Mm-hmm.
And when they meet you, they sort of look around and then say, I think from their posture, they're maybe assuming this new Zay is like a employee or servant or something. But they look to the other 3 of you and they say, will Zay be joining us? Or
I just kind of look at Zay and raise an eyebrow.
That's actually, well, really quickly, that's a good question. Pooja, is there anything that you do or that each of your kind of forms has where, like, for instance, like Alaebas and I, who aren't changelings, we can still kind of identify it's you if you're walking up on us at the street? Or
I
is it
mean, not
completely
unless you can see my dragon mark, because that doesn't change, and it doesn't change location. It doesn't change appearance from form to form.
Okay.
Also, I always have that ring on. So I have a ring of mind shielding. And that
yeah, that's
remains the
pretty
same.
distinctive, honestly.
Yeah.
And
cool.
the other thing is, we probably should know whether the others know about your dragon mark at all, because an aberrant dragon mark is a big, big deal, and a thing that other dragon marked houses would hunt you down for.
I didn't realize that part of thing. So maybe I'm not showing it off.
I mean, to random people around, they might not know that it's aberrant, right? If you could just see a piece of it, they'll just go like, "Oh, that's someone with a dragon mark."
And that was my intention, is to just show enough to be like, hey, I have a dragon mark, but not to show the whole thing so that people could tell what exactly, like,
Okay.
to tell that it's aberrant.
Yeah. Yeah, from this angle, like, oh, maybe it's Larendar, maybe it's the Orion, maybe it's that curvy thing with the spiral and the... I don't know, I can't tell, it's fine. Don't ask, it's rude to ask. So, yeah, it sounds like there is something that your friends would be able to recognize you from. I think also we established in the beginning, in our fiction at least, that changelings sort of recognize each other. They have the Miles Morales.
Spidey sense.
Yeah, we have the Spidey, we have
Yeah.
the Into the Spideyverse, you're like me sense.
Yeah. They might not
You're
know
changeling.
exactly who you are. They just know you're a changeling. So, so there's that. But
in my my assumption here is that I changed at Nix's place before we left.
Mhm.
So we all left together.
Okay.
Okay.
So y'all
cool.
know it's me.
Yep.
But that Stiv and Gore don't necessarily know it's me.
Okay. So did you have maybe you talked with everyone ahead of time of what you would want them to say when a random person shows up?
Yeah, I think we have my my base is that when I change parents, they're not outing me as a changeling.
Okay, but
that would be my I feel like our standard operating procedure because we have been together for that long.
Yeah,
and they know that I'm not comfortable with that.
Right, but what I mean is what would be the backup plan, because they're going to have to say something. Because you're on a covert mission with people who are find it hard to trust.
I'm an associate of Zay's. We work closely together often.
A trusted associate.
A trusted associate.
Okay.
We often work closely together, but not all the time.
Okay, so Zay, what is this character's name?
You are asking me to name things? How dare you?
Well, I don't think they could just introduce you as this person.
No, I'm just saying because I'm bad at names and I wasn't thinking ahead.
There is a name generator in roles.
Yeah, there's the name generator in roles.
Oh, is there? That is new to me, so I'm gonna use that.
Yeah.
So if you want to move on for a second, and
Sure.
I'll figure out how to use that, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, hashtag Gen name. GEN space name. Yeah.
Hosomi.
Okay. Hosumi.
Hosomi. I mean, it's in the chatty thing, so you can see it.
But it's little where I can see
Oh,
it. It's tiny.
Hosomi.
Got it. Okay. Zay is
Sumi.
Hosomi. Yeah, so you introduce this friend, and they seem a little bit they're not speaking as freely as they were before. They're just like, okay, it's a little weird that you brought this person instead of Zay. This is unspoken, right? They just look uncomfortable.
Zay sends their regrets, but other business took them aside.
Oh, I understand. I imagine they're very busy. And also the default is Stiv does most of their talking. I think that's probably clear, but I just wanted to make sure that was... Unless I say otherwise.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Gore's not a big talker. So
He's a hugger.
He is a hugger, actually. He's very affectionate. So the six of you board the train, I assume, and unless you wanted to, I don't know, start a brawl in the first class lounge.
No.
Save that until after
Sure.
port time.
Well,
I am greeting absolutely everybody that I see. Like as we're going down to our little booth or, I don't know what you would call it, seating area. Like I'm popping my head into the other ones going like, hey, how's it going? Nice to see you. Where are you guys heading off to? Just kind of having that genial conversation.
Yeah. Rob, do you have any more microphone volume? You seem lower than before.
I am moving my microphone closer to my mouth.
Much better. That's helpful. Thank you. Okay, so the hustle and bustle of the first class lounge area is much less stressful than the rest of the sort of general train. Just you could picture whatever you imagine for the airplane travel in real life this is the analog for that. And, you're offered drinks before you even get on the train. Your bags are taken to your rooms. Every accommodation is made. And, somebody comes over to your little group of six. There's no a big announcement made. Like somebody comes over and says, we'll be leaving in 30 minutes, just so you know. So, whenever you're ready, and then that person goes and visits each little group. That there's no big blaring announcements because that would be uncouth. And the the train loads up, and stop me if you've heard this one before. But
is there like onboard entertainment?
Yeah. I mean, the trip is only a few hours because this thing's pretty fast.
Yeah, but this is first class, baby.
Yes.
There better be like somebody singing in a slinky dress.
Yes.
with
Yeah.
a
There's
band behind them.
there's the magical equivalent of a piano that takes up a lot less space but sounds like a piano.
Like a Westworld type situation.
Yeah. And a singer, and there's like a lounge that you could go sit in that's adjacent to the first class sleeper car. You probably won't really have time to go to sleep because Zilspar, let's say if that's 150, so let's say it's like 50 miles an hour, which is pretty fast to be flying along on a train. I guess that's not that fast, is it?
No.
100 miles an hour for a train? No.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's
Lightning
say
rail, more like electrical shock rail.
yeah. Okay. So let's say it's like an hour to Zilspar, and then a few hours all the way to Trollenpart. So
For reference, like the Shinkansen travels 150 to 200 miles per hour.
oh, okay. So that's very fast. It's fine. I'm not too worried about it. But we're in that realm. Let's say 100 miles an hour, because that's extremely fast. Nothing else in the world travels that fast. The train like sparks up all the sort of lightning. If you've looked up any of the drawings around this, it's it lifts up off of these little plates spaced evenly, and it slowly picks up speed and takes off down the tracks. And before long, you have a great view out over the coast. The train makes a brief stop in Zilspar. Is there anything you want to be doing aside from just kind of enjoying the train ride?
Yeah.
Is there like a bartender or somebody that it hangs out in the first class car that's like a servant, like somebody?
There is a bartender. Everything's free in this car. They don't exchange money for the drinks,
Sure.
but
No.
there is somebody there serving drinks.
So I'd be sitting at the bar, chatting them up, trying to be like, "Hey, so how often is this train?" Gathering information about the circuit and the guards and everything.
Well, just to double check. So the bartender on this train is a Warforged person, and some people don't treat Warforged like people. So I just want to check in how Nyx is with that.
Nyx treats everybody like people. If they speak, they're people.
Okay. So yeah, this Warforged is more than happy to have a conversation with you, and honestly, it seems like they haven't had much of a conversation with folks in this car in a long time, and they're more than willing to chit chat about how the train operates. So what was it you were asking?
Basic, like how often the guards pass through first class.
They
what
make
the
a
security-
big note about how safe this is. One of the safest ways to travel. The guards come in and out every hour. They're always on the move. There's always somebody nearby. Even if you can't see them, they're nearby. You have no need to worry. Warforged has a little bit of like the tenor of C-3PO, but not as robotic, right? So it has this like a little bit higher pitch, but is a much more
Wolfforged traditions.
Yeah, but more natural speaking pattern than C-3PO.
And I'm also trying to just casually work in I was really concerned when I heard about the spoke getting broken last year. Do you guys have any new security measures, for if something were to happen during a trip?
Oh no, there's nothing to worry about there. That was entirely the work of some miscreants in the city, and we are somewhat separated from that here on our routes. We don't have to get too deep into the city politics, as it were. It's why the train only goes through. I don't know. I guess we said that's all lightning rail, but the the first tower junction is it's a much nicer place to take the train than having to get directly on at the spoke, as you're aware.
And then I drop it. I drop it so he doesn't get suspicious. After
Okay.
that.
Cool. Ventuz, you look like you had butt face.
No, that's just the way my face
Oh,
looks, Jason. Thank
okay.
you. But I did have ideas.
Oh, that's what that look was.
Yes. I know
Huh.
it's confusing.
It's new.
I want to walk up and down the whole area through the lounge and see where we can make our way towards, or see if I can make my way towards like the engineering area, or and just constantly engaging everybody I kind of pass with like a little bit of conversation, whether they be soldiers or some of the idle rich that are here, some of the business people that look like they're going from one place to another, and just trying to glean, much the same way that Nyx was, glean information, not only about the train itself, but now that I'm in this world, quote unquote, of house politics, I want to understand it a little bit more. And I'm not delving too deep in order to get like into an esoteric conversation about, house hierarchy, but just kind of the feelings from this group of people, whether they be staff, consumers, soldiers, etc. So there's two levels of information I'm looking for.
Let's start with an investigation roll.
Alrighty, we're gonna try this out. So I got a 16 plus 3 is a 19.
That's terrific. So one of the first things you notice is that there are individuals, and more noticeably, pairs and maybe trios at most, of people traveling with icons or pins, like brooches or something of the dragon mark for houses that they represent, where they are not personally dragon marked, but they're like, oh, I'm a high ranking member of that is just really common. You've seen half a dozen houses represented in the train in your walk through a couple of cars. And they are, of course, sitting by themselves, or like these two people and these two people from different houses are having a very tense, very polite conversation across the table from each other, and maybe playing cards, because they're being extremely polite. Yeah. It's on
Absolutely.
par.
One
Polite.
rule is not to start an inner-house war on the train.
Yeah, and in a lot of respects, the houses are as substantial as the country, as the nation states. So they're not separate, and they're not their own nations, and like several houses claim Breland as their home country, but it's a whole other level of allegiance, right? There's like your national allegiance, and then there's also, are you Coke or are you Pepsi? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, you don't like Pepsi?
No Coke, Pepsi.
Oh, I like Pepsi.
I prefer Coke, and it doesn't.
You are
matter.
wrong. You are wrong. Pepsi is disgusting.
Moving on.
Moving on.
What was the other thing you were asking, Rob?
I just wanted to get a lay of the land as far as where engineering is, where the hot stone might be. There's certain times that I think if I get close to that, I'm going to play a little bit more rural villager and get people to explain to me how it all works.
Sure. When you get towards the closer to engineering, there is an employee of the train who is an Azamar, who I mean, they're fairly obvious in that they're sort of half human, or they're half celestial and half, a mortal species. Like, it doesn't have to be human. They could be a celestial half-orc. They could be a celestial dwarf, whatever. So you have what looks like a human Aasimar, person working on the train, and they're honestly, they're a lot, right? They're like, their eyes are glowing yellow light, and they're gorgeously beautiful, and they're like tucked into a conductor's uniform, and sort of standing there and doing their job of being a half angel working on this train. And when you get there, they speak, and actually they start speaking in Loxodon slowly to see if that's okay to speak to you that way.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Greetings. I can only assume, and I am very much hoping this is the case. It seems like you would like a tour of the engine, and if I could oblige you in that, it would very much be my pleasure to take you and your children on a walkthrough. That I know it's always sometimes it's hard to ask, but the children cannot be denied, and we would be more than happy to give you a tour of the engine room.
I tilt my head slightly to the side and go, children?
Oh, I apologize. I've misread the situation.
I'm going to... Can I conveniently walk up at that point?
Yeah, unless you were trying to avoid her, Ventuz. Them.
Oh.
No? Okay. Then, yeah, you were shadowing Ventuz. There's a lot of shadow there, so it's okay.
So much shadow. And I don't speak Loxodon. I'm just going
Not
to
with
look.
that attitude.
I mean, what do you
Anyone's-
do?
Any language can be Loxodon if you try hard enough.
If you believe. Just speak really loud and slowly.
And slowly.
But usually you
Who
have to be
you?
speaking really loud and slowly in a language you understand.
Yeah, well, okay.
But I am just going to look very pointedly. And you said the conductor is she, correct?
Yeah, I hadn't, but now she is. Yes.
Done.
I'm just going to look very pointedly, like slightly raised eyebrows, and look back at Ventuz.
We're not related.
I don't know what to say. I apologize if what I said was offensive.
No. Confusing to me?
What? So we all look the same to you?
Well, now
But-
you're not there.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just being funny.
Pipe down, peanut gallery.
Fine.
What you said was confusing to me, but it's merely the 10th time that I've been confused today, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. Most people who come up to me are asking for a tour of the engine room, and most of the time their children would like to see the engine room, and I just assumed. I'm sorry.
So are they going to give me the tour or not?
If the two of you would like a tour, I'm more than happy to. Oh,
Yes,
good.
please.
Okay. Yes.
And when, is she still speaking in Loxodon?
Well, no, you spoke in common, right?
Yeah, but I only spoke to Ventuz.
Yeah, but I think she switched to common at that point.
Okay.
If
And
you're
I'm gonna
speaking to
say,
him, he speaks common, and that's her sort of assumption at that point. So.
Okay. And I'm gonna give the brightest, dazzlinglyest smile I can, and kind of do that little excited clap of my hands.
Okay, very good. So the two of you are ushered into there's of a hallway where you can now, in this part of the train, you can hear a lot more of the mechanical stuff and the sparking, background staticky sound of the lightning covering the front of the train. It's not like lightning bolts and thunder rolling, right? But it is that sort of electrical transformer noise.
Like a Tesla coil.
Yeah, like that. And you can hear all of that machinery that's clearly been sound dampened to the rest of the first class car. You get there and there's all this very impressive looking machinery going, and they actually have a little section. It's on purpose, right? They have made an area where you can go up and kind of stand above where the engineers are working. And, they have a control panel that has, levers and dials and things like that. And, behind you is the kind of working engine, where there's steam coming out of it, going up through the lightning and, all this stuff. So, it's a combination of a lightning elemental and the steam engine working. And the person you're with has this whole spiel about how the train operates and how everyone here works very hard. And you could tell they keep stumbling over this language that is clearly chosen for children. Like they're doing the Jungle Cruise, right? Of like, I'm supposed to be entertaining children, and that's no longer a funny joke if you're a grown up with like. So
I laugh at all of those jokes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Is it a genuine laugh or is it a fake laugh?
Oh, no, it's genuine.
Okay. Can you roll persuasion for me, please?
Sure.
Also, I'd like you to roll persuasion, Zay.
Okay.
Or performance, if you choose.
Persuasion is better for me, so I'm going to choose that.
Yep.
Fuck.
So
I'm just living for your NPCs, Jason. Like, your NPCs awkwardly being like, I'm sorry if I offended.
My earbuds fell out and I didn't hear the last 5 seconds.
All right.
What happened?
I was just saying that I'm living for your awkward NPCs being like, I'm sorry if I offended anybody. It's very funny to me.
I got a 16.
Okay, that's
That's
very
the
good.
11 that I rolled plus 5 on my persuasion.
Cool.
I got a 7, but I swear I was being genuine. Like, my intent was to be genuine.
Oh, no, that's fine. But sometimes when you're being genuine, people don't always like get you the way you mean to be got.
That's the basis of our friendship, Jason.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
What's that supposed to mean?
Get it?
Okay, so we have that scene that is going as it is. Let's check in with Alaebas. What are you up to?
I would think that he would be kind of doing the same thing as Ventuz, just walking around talking to people on the train, but he really doesn't have an aim in the conversation, just kind of getting a feel of what the people think about just kind of like the area. Looking at the map, like I don't think he's really been in this part of the world. So I think he would also be curious about like the forest that they're going through as something that would take his attention. And then if worse comes to worse, if there's no jams, then he'll bring out his loot.
Oh, well, I mean, there's music in the lounge car, and it seems like in the other car that's just everybody's sitting and talking, and there isn't really like a music vibe. You could bust out your loot and start playing, but it would be a little weird for a first-class passenger to just like bust out a guitar and start playing for everyone.
As you.
Yes,
I
says
know.
me.
Like, who's going to start that train, Jason? Alaebas.
Okay. So are you just playing your loot in the passenger cabin?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, I'll come back to that. Nix,
Yes.
what are you up to?
I'm getting to know the Warforged, and I'm like, hey, if you drink, does it do anything for you?
Oh, no, I don't, I can't really interface with the food or drink.
Oh, is there anything that can, like, that can make you feel more social and,
Oh,
no?
I just enjoy being around people.
Cool. Great. I was going to offer to buy you a drink because it's customary with. What word did we say for not human but like humanoid?
Oh, I mean humanoid is.
It's customary for humanoid bartenders, but I don't want to.
Oh, there's no need. In fact, we don't even have I cannot accept tips of any kind. That's not the train takes care of us. We're very well taken care of here, and thank you. That's not necessary. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear you're taken care of. Yeah. So, what would happen? Like, what would happen on the train if, like, it broke down or something? What would happen then?
Well, that's very hard to imagine. I don't think a train has broken down in 1,100 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Of its own, of course, the trains were involved in the war effort, and they malfunctioned for many reasons. But just breaking down on their own is almost unfathomable. I'm not sure how that would work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think while you're sitting there, Stiv and Guar join you. And I had meant to say this before. Stiv, for this trip, has adopted a bit of a hood and mouth covering. Not really like a hijab or anything like it's not a specific thing like that, but it is a hood and face covering of some kind.
Is it does it obscure her and make her less clockable as undead, or does it more?
Yes.
Just okay.
Yeah, because she has that big stitched up scar on her cheek, and like it's really obvious that that's not healing up. You know, it's like a Frankenstein stitch,
right?
Right. And so covering that is just going to be less hassle, and so her lavender skin from just here can be passed off as a lot of things, and and she's also not the only person in a hood or even a full covering. Like, what was I thinking of there's a whole other thing that's not, it's like a whole like hood thing. But anyway, yeah, there's lots of people in lots of different types of clothes, and you wouldn't be in these like 4 cars if you weren't first class. So It's the sort of thing where people just don't ask, and you got this far, you must have paid enough to be here, and you were checked for weapons. So it is what it is.
So when Styx and Stiv and her brother, I forget her brother's name.
Gore.
When Stiv and Gore walk up, I say, "Oh, hey, you got to meet my new friend, Gearface."
My name is Rose.
Rose.
Hello, it's nice to meet you. And
very different from Gearface.
Listen, you go to war with the NPC names that come up to you, not the NPC names you want.
And so they sit down. Guar orders a beer, which is a little bit of a trick at first until Rose figures out like they don't have just regular like shitty beer here. They have like lagers and IP. Like blah 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 blah. That it's too fancy for that. So he finally figures out how to get what he wants, and Stiv orders what's it called? There's a like a tiefling fire whiskey that is meant for half infernals because they have resistance to fire. And like regular humanoids can drink it and not die, but they will have deep regrets. And so somebody seeing her order that would almost certainly just assume she's a tiefling under there. And tieflings also often travel hooded because they get so much bullshit for their,
part demon.
Yeah. Big air quotes around demon there.
Yeah.
But that's what people think about them. So, prejudice is bullshit.
Yes, it is. So I'm just being the barfly and like trying to be the cruise director and the social, hey, this is this person, hey, and trying to gather information, but also kind of enjoying my trip in first class.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think there's plenty of friendly back and forth. Most people come up and actually, I'm gonna say in the couple hours that you're sitting at the bar, if you even stay that long. Every single person that comes up to the bar, Rose recognizes and pours their drink before they even ask for it. So Rose, of the like 8 or 10 people who come up to the bar and are like, "Can I?" and Rose is like, "Oh yeah, of course." And she knows what they want. And also you discover Rose uses she, her pronouns. Nobody tries to tip her. And I think that's probably a worthwhile observation in that interaction, in that that's the thing that
everybody knows the rules. It seemed so. I actually asked the question. So are these guys? Are they regulars, or are you just really good at knowing when people want to drink?
Oh, I've met all of them before. It's rare to see new faces, and it's been lovely to make your acquaintance.
Well, thank you.
Let me cut back to Alaebas real quick. So you get out your loot.
Yeah.
What kind of song are you going to bust out?
More of a medley, no singing.
Okay. No singing?
No singing.
Okay. Let's make a performance check, because why not?
Because why not?
I'm just trying to imagine. Well, one, I'm trying to imagine being in first class on an airplane. That sounds rad. I got bumped up one time, and now it's all I want.
Honestly, international is the only like worthwhile first class.
Well, sure, and it was on an international. It was like coming back from London. It was the best day of my life.
It's literally like the best experience.
Yeah. But I'm trying to imagine somebody getting up from their seat and playing guitar in that social situation.
I got a 16.
A 16 is very good. That's with your performance bonus and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I'll tell you what would happen is that the regulars would be like, "Oh, he's very good." Like they'd be really cute about it.
Yeah, no, it's that they think you work here. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's like,
sure.
they brought in some entertainment. This is usually it's just in the lounge car. This is so nice. And you could hear people sort of talking to each other like, well, it's about time they brought some music in here. I mean, really, how much was that to ask? Yeah, I mean, I think that's the general tenor until, probably 20, 30 minutes in, a conductor comes by and says, sir, I need you to put that away or go sit down. You can't just stand here and play the lute. I'm sorry.
But everybody seems to be enjoying it. It's normally
we've had complaints, sir.
Kind of looks around to the room, like defeated a little bit.
No,
yeah.
Now that they know you don't work here, it's the whole temperature of the room has changed.
I mean, Sasha, she loved it. She told me like 6 or 7 times.
Sasha's not looking at you, bro.
Yeah. Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not sure who that is, but I'm sure she doesn't work here or know the train's policies about busking, and we will have to ask you to please put away your instrument.
He kind of has like a defeated look, like, I thought this was going super well, and then just kind of, I mean, they said that they enjoyed it and didn't know why this wasn't here earlier. It's kind of weird that you would just stop me.
Sir, are we going to have a problem?
we're not going to have a problem, but this is kind of sad for me.
I'm sorry to have upset you, but I need you to put that away now, please.
My secondhand embarrassment is so strong right now.
He has a look on his face like he's getting it, but he's not really getting it because he could see the people were vibing.
Mm-hmm.
So like he was just like totally just like, all right, and just kind of like sulks out.
Well, here's it. So you when you like make like you're gonna pack up, the conductor doesn't like stand there and stare at you to do it because it's like he sort of socially is obliged to go like, okay, you've said you're starting to put that away. I should walk away, and just assume that you're going to put it away. And so as you're kind of, putting the case back and everything, an older human guy, kind of salt and pepper gray hair and a pointy goatee, comes by and puts 3 gold into your case before you can close it. Which is actually way more money than you would give a busker on the street. But he's like, there, fella, don't worry about it. You did a great job. That was good playing. You take care.
It's like these are the smallest bills I had on me at the time.
I stand that little old man. That's amazing.
Well, I mean, he's like 50. I don't know if that's old, but...
Oh, well,
Ancient.
Well, isn't Nick's like 86?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not. No, Claire stands him. Nyx is not there.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
I learned what busking was. That was one that I had to look up. Thanks.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I know people that do it,
That's a new word.
but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's. Jason, would you like to give the definition?
Oh, it's just, playing music on the corner for money, essentially. I mean, that's the short version. I'm sure there's a more elaborate definition of the word, but buskers are the folks who play money on the sidewalk, or play music for money on the sidewalk.
And they typically don't have a contract.
Right.
They're not like hired. Although in Austin, the live music capital of the world, they have specific rules about when and where you can busk, and you have to have a permit. It's all crazy.
Yeah, a lot of big cities have that.
So today's session was brought to you by
Letter B and the word busking.
You got straight busted.
Oh, no.
So
I hate that,
Ventuz,
Rob.
can you distract this
What am I giving Carol for kid?
person so I can talk to the primordial
KitchenAid pasta.
Sure.
force here that's running this train?
Yeah. So, since
Sorry, I didn't hear what you were saying, Pooja.
Oh, I was like doing a little like, hey, you want to distract the conductor
Oh.
so I can see if I can talk to the lightning elemental?
Oh. Okay.
Because I actually do speak primordial, so I can talk to the elementals.
Mm-hmm.
So, what movie was it? And it was a little kid, and he was going on a tour of, I don't know, like a business or something like that. And he was asking what every little thing was and getting the person to explain it. And at one point, like, he walks by something mundane. He's like, what's that? He's like, it's fire extinguisher. Oh, what's that over there? Right? That's kind of the attitude that I'm going to take. Number one, I legitimately am interested in all of this stuff
Mm-hmm.
to minute detail. I know that usually social proclivities won't allow me to go down to that level. However, I have been given a gift, and that gift is to keep this person engaged. So I view this as a win-win scenario.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask about everything.
Okay. So, Rob, I'm going to need... It's your choice, either deception or performance. Because I know you are somewhat genuinely interested, but you are going above your genuine interest. So deception is appropriate if you want to.
No, because they're both the same, and I'm not inherently deceptive.
Okay.
So I'm going to roll performance, and my performance is a +3, and I rolled a 9, and so math dictates that would be a 12.
Yeah, 12 is not terrible. I mean, most basic DCs are 10 or 12, so that's the thing.
It's not terrible for you. I feel a little less right now. Just
Okay.
throwing that out there.
I mean, your average roll for that would be 13, so...
So it's below average.
It's 5% down, yes. Okay, so... yes, but your conversation proceeds, and the Azamar is giving you extensive explanations, and it's actually sort of shifting gears and engaging with the fact that she gets to talk to an adult, so that part's nice, and so that's happening. Zay, why don't you... how do we get the elemental's attention?
Hey, you, hey.
What is it you want to do? Let's start with that.
Well, I would like to have a conversation with this lightning elemental and see how their working conditions are.
Mm-hmm. So you're in, kind of a small space with Ventuz and the conductor. There's room where you could walk off a little bit on your own. You can't really disappear, or the conductor's going to be like, "Wait, what the?"
There was a second person here.
Yeah, but you could drift off a little bit and try to have a conversation. Okay, let's do this. Let's make an Arcana check at disadvantage.
Okay.
Did you grab the disadvantage code?
I did.
Rolls? Okay.
And I now have it as a little... That's 12 plus 2 is 14.
Okay. 14's pretty good. You manage to get this thing's attention, and it also picks up on the fact that you're trying to be quiet, and you get the sense that this thing is loud. Like it is made of crackling static and, the entire opposite of subtlety, right? It's air elementals whisper, water elementals can burble if they want to, but lightning elementals crash. And
Thunder, if you will.
no, that's a different element.
Lightning is a different
Is
element
it?
than thunder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lightning causes thunder. Thunder is the sonic boom of the air compression.
But in any case, lightning, the crackling of electricity is not
Yes.
white.
But this thing sort of establishes a telepathic connection to speak in your mind. No, we don't want that.
I mean, they can't.
Oh,
Because that was the point of me having the...
oh, right.
So the ring of mind shielding...
Right.
I am immune to magic that allows other creatures to read my thoughts, determine whether am I lying, alignment, creature type. Creatures, they can telepathically communicate with me if I allow it.
Right. Okay.
So if I can sense that that's what they're trying to do,
Yes.
I could allow it.
Yeah. They yes. Okay. So do you?
I do.
Okay.
Because that will be the easiest way. They can be louder in my brain.
Yeah. All right. So you have this very staticky presence in your mind. You can feel your hair starting to stand up. What does your hair look like in this form?
I've got it back in, let's say 6 braids braided into 2 braids.
Okay. So you can feel any of the little wispy flyaway bits are just like... all the way down the braid itself to anything that's loose that can stick out is enlivened.
All the hairs on my arms
Yeah,
are starting
all
to
of
like
that.
go.
Yeah. But it says in your mind, this is interesting. Have we met?
Not personally. However, I just wanted to. I have associates and I like to think friends who believe that things could be better.
Are you a thief?
No.
It's all it says to you.
How do they treat you here?
They meet their bargains. I wouldn't work if they didn't.
But are they satisfactory bargains?
I wouldn't work if they weren't.
Well.
I have bound them to my service.
Good. I am glad to hear of that you have come out the victor in your negotiations. And if you don't mind me asking, how long is your contract?
Until I cancel it.
And what are the terms?
I must see your symbol of Orion. I have agreed to make these terms private.
Understood. I'm glad that you hold to your end of the agreement. And it was my pleasure to speak with you about it.
I don't recognize your mark. It's not
Not many
Orion's
do.
mark.
I'm not with House Orion, but I am contracted to find out what the terms are. And I have a personal interest in making sure that elementals are treated as they deserve to be treated.
Like royalty.
Exactly.
They understand that this is my domain and I am in charge. Emphasis on charge.
I am glad that that is what you believe. That you believe that that is what they believe.
It is the case. This is enough for now. And then you feel that connection break.
Okay.
Can you roll insight at disadvantage for me, please?
Sure. Hey, that would have been the same either way. It's a 10.
Okay, that doesn't meet the DC for what I wanted there, but
My wisdom is no good.
yeah. But you did get doubles, so you can take a thread if you
Yes.
want. Are those both 9s? Is that what that says?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rolled the advantage disadvantage, and they were both 9s.
Yeah. My best disadvantage story was getting a 17 and an 18 with
Nice.
disadvantage, which
Oh,
felt
wow.
very good.
What is taking a thread? I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, it's from the Demigods game, which is not
Oh.
part of D&D at all. I was just being it's a dumb joke.
Okay, that's fine. I will look it up.
Oh, it's all right. So your tour is concluding in the engine room. Ventuz, is there anything in particular you wanted to know about how this engine works?
Well, I mean, looking into information on the stone specifically, where it might be.
Yeah, I mean the conductor speaks in very openly, but in general terms, and
Yeah.
explains because they're very proud of having accomplished this technology and the engineering feats and, just how impressive the train is and doing all of that. So, but yeah, that you have a very good understanding of how the engine in general terms works.
Okay. I think that was pretty much like, I don't want to go and be like, so if someone was trying to steal it, how
Yeah.
would they do? Like, I'm not obviously going to go down that path, but it's more of a question of, oh, is it difficult to service? Does the elemental ever turn off if the train's not in use? Things like that.
This person is also skilled enough in PR to turn any a question like how often does it need service turns into an answer like, we are proud of the safety record of our trains, and versus a straight answer of literal how often does it need service. She's pretty good at dancing around those kind of questions.
She worked for Disneyland.
I was going to say, answer the question you wish you had been asked.
Yes, as a wise sage told me once, and also
Who?
Rob told me that one time too.
Well,
so shall we reconvene at how far were we going? We're going all the way to Trollingport?
yes. Do we have to go through? Oh God, what is it?
Zilspar?
Well,
Yeah. Do we have? Do we have to go through Quesk?
Yes. Zilspar was about an hour into the trip. 2 hours later, you went through Xanthus. And I should mention, too, when it was time to watch out for it, you all did see a subtly placed service platform only because you were looking for it under where the SH is in Shimmerwood. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? Is that a weird way to describe that?
No, it's like,
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
it's definitely better than like the southeastern corner of the square
Yeah.
peninsula.
Right.
Yeah, it's just right under the S there is and it's on the inland side, not the cliff side. But on the inland side, there's some sort of little arrangement that looks like it's artfully hidden by trees and whatnot. And, it's all real dense forest that is on your left of the train. And then you're looking out over cliffs and the sea to your right as you start heading north. Through Xanthus, there's a stop at Xanthus. And, that's Xanthus is a big logging town. So that's it's like a wealthy logging town too, right? It's not like a dirt and mud old western kind of fantasy village. It's like a mini city, right? This is a big thriving town. I shouldn't say city because that's really overdoing it, but it's a really nice town. Quesk is like surprisingly small crossroads. I mean, Quesk should be like a very busy, like a St. Louis, like it's this major intersection. It should be extremely busy, but it is the most sparse, business-like, like quick transitions. It was like designed by Germans. Everything's like very precise and even and regimented in the layout there.
North of Quesk, is that all desert?
That section before you get to the peaks is desert. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. It wouldn't be hugely bustling if it's between what looks like grasslands and desert.
Well, yeah, when you come up and you're in Quesk, you're right on the edge of the forest and grasslands. And then the grasslands, as you go north, like by the time you hit Dragon Roost, you're in like savanna and, it's not like Sahara dunes kind of desert, but it is this kind of savanna plains, I guess,
Sure.
which is still technically desert, but
Different.
yeah.
It's more of a Los Angeles-based kind of desert.
Yeah, yeah. So then when you head back down south, because this train is bound for Trollenport, you go through Oscalor, which is another, like they do a mix of things, but apparently they have some sort of rare gem mine here, which is why this is a bigger town, bordering on city again. And it's also, Oscalor, I'm going to say, is like, you can see how there's like that little bit of a river up through there. This is like the fanciest people come here for their summer getaways, or they're like fishing and hunting cabins and stuff like that. It's that, right? It's enough in the woods that it's that, but it's right at the edge of the woods, so it's not too wild. So it's the rich
It's
people.
kind of the Martha's Vineyard of.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more wild than Martha's Vineyard, but it's also a fantasy world, so it's going to be. Lugwin.
The Monticello.
Lugwin is a really just like a service stop, and they don't even stop all the time when they're passing through, and they don't stop today. They just blast right through, and you can see. You're looking out on a town that has probably seen hard times. It's not a very prosperous region. And then Trollenport is another very, very busy shipping port. It is not up on a cliff the way Sharn is. It's like right down in there. And this very protected fjord is extremely stable and safe for ships to come in and out. And so that's where they've made their wealth is, their connection to the Shimmerwood Forest. There's a lot of the elves and halflings that live here have created a lot of export from Zilargo. And so that's probably I just realized how deep we got into economics there. Sorry. Very exciting story. But you get out at Trollenport and find yourself at this bustling seaport that is a merchant's haven. So Sharn seems like a merchant's haven, but it's really like it's much more metropolitan, like a New York, where it sort of does everything, but they're proud of their universities and they're proud of all the ways that they're fancy. This Trollenport in our version is very much that merchant's paradise. It's run by a merchant's guild, and there are all kinds of ships coming in and out. The trains make shipments. There are all kinds of casinos here, Trollenport.
So it's like Atlantic City.
Yeah, but nice.
But nice.
Yeah. So it's I mean, we should definitely have riverboats, though, right? There are riverboats, and all kinds of stuff. So, elven casinos. The casinos are just run by whoever. So.
Is it Canto Bite, or is that what we're looking? Are we in Canto Bite right now?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's the. Sorry, I'm referencing the Star Wars sequels right now. Oh. That's the town where they go with all the gambling.
Oh, where what's her face is the other like super old lady.
Yes,
yeah.
where Maz is. Yeah.
It's a little more upscale than that, right? It's like I can't think of a good analogy off the top of my head, but yeah, it's it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's like the place where it's in Europe where they race cars through the city.
Monte Carlo?
Monaco?
Yes, it's Monte Carlo. That's what we're talking about. It's on the water. It's extremely high end, but it's also it's like you go fancy shopping, you go to casinos, it's like best restaurants, it's all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What Vegas wants to be.
Yes, yeah. If it wasn't a hive of scum and villainy,
right.
It would be like Trollenport.
Yes.
So
is there value in us taking a boat down to about the area of where this maintenance shed is to get a better look at the area and what we would need to do, like a reconnaissance, if you will.
You can, just so you know, there's a not insubstantial cliff. It's probably like a 40, 50-foot cliff. It's hard to tell as the train was rushing by, but
Lips of insanity.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad. You could climb it. It's not, it's not like you're all gonna die because you try to do this. But it's also something you should just know. Like, there's a great big cliff to get up, at least right there. So the spot south of there, like, there's a little pointy bit kind of pointing at where it says Red Cliff Bay. Like, that's a beach. You could get around to a beach over there and hike in. But that's up to you. But you could just try to scale that cliff.
If only one of us had a high dexterity and a ring of feather fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I can try and climb cliffs.
Yeah, that'd be convenient. So let's have that in-character discussion. So you all get off the train, and you have go to a restaurant or something, and you have a table to yourselves. And
Lunch.
Do we let
It's dinner time, yeah.
do we let our new friends buy us lunch?
Well, I mean, they're just making as if to pay for everything. So
Okay.
Unless you interfere with that, they're going to pay for everything.
Great.
Zay, are you still Hosomi?
Yes.
Okay. I said, well, if this is something that everybody still wants to do, probably taking a look at the area before and around the maintenance shed would be a good idea, just so we know what we're looking at.
I can do that.
Okay. Hey, Jason, real quick, when she was going over the tour guide, the conductor was going over how everything worked.
Mm-hmm.
The plates that it passes through, if some of those plates are removed, does that stop the train?
It would have to be a significant number of them, right? There's a lot of redundancy built into that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Okay.
If I were to think of a significant number...
Oh, sure. Like, let's say 8 or 10 in a row, right?
Oh, okay.
But, a couple... Like, it can definitely scoot over 2 or 3 missing plates, because that's...
Yeah. But 8 or 10 in a row. Okay.
And they are, magically anchored in place.
Gotcha.
So...
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Oh, and also there is... I think you all actually experience this. There is one track, okay? And when trains come the other way, the trains lean over. And you all are like, oh, okay. But everyone else is just like, they're like ready for it. And you see the other train go by like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then the train comes back up and does that. So it's a relatively flexible as like what it can do on these tracks. But that's, as those two lightning elementals high five on their way by. Also at the restaurant, it was Gore who picked out the restaurant. He mostly speaks quietly to Stiv, right? And she's like, okay, fine. And apparently he had researched this place and orders a particular bottle of wine when you all sit down, and is very excited. He's like very fussy about tasting it.
What you got for us there, buddy?
I think you may like this. I've been looking for a place that serves it, and we haven't been able to get it for some time. And he's very generous about pouring it out for anyone who wants some. The bottle he ordered was 100 gold. which, is more than
A
most.
lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot for
1/5 of an emerald.
Yeah, for a consumable. So, yeah.
That's a true resurrection spell right there. At least in 3.5, I don't know what it is now, but
Yeah. So yeah, that's just a little bit of background to what's going on. However, it was like he told Stiv what he wanted, and she told the waiter what to get for some reason. Like, I don't know. You heard what he can speak. You've talked to him.
Maybe he's shy.
It seems like that might be the case.
hey, is there a reason that she does all the talking for you?
It's just easier that way.
How come?
It's fine. Let's.
All right. I'm not trying to question anything. I'm just making conversation.
Yeah, he just turns to sort of not that he's like turning away from you to dismiss you. He just is like disconnecting from an awkward situation that
He's very clearly uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
he's trying to
Yeah.
And when that happens, I'm just like, and disengage.
Yeah. So
Has anybody picked up on Stiv's on the differences that Stiv lives with or doesn't live with?
not since she's had the hood and the face covering.
Okay.
Yeah, and there really isn't anything that would identify her. She wears gloves and she's armed. I mean, she still looks like a pirate she looks kind of like a Jedi, honestly. Like,
Nice.
if we're gonna compare it to something, she looks more like that than anything else. But even that is not the weirdest thing walking around this square. I'm picturing like a great big square with all these fancy restaurants around the edge of it, and into the evening it's warm. I think we said it was getting into summertime.
I thought you said October.
Oh,
no,
is
no,
it-
never mind.
is
Never
it
mind.
fall?
No. You didn't.
Different campaign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, different. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think it's early summer, and this is probably kind of Italian, south of France kind of environment. So, yeah, here you are.
Okay.
What do you do?
I'm making conversation, but like taking everything in. Just like I'm sitting, I've got my back to the corner. I am watching everybody, like, who's note. I especially take note of anybody that's taking notice of us.
Oh, okay. Will you roll investigation for me, please?
Sure. Is +4, and I go to my thing.
I am also going to roll something.
12.
Okay. Yeah, you mostly see a bunch of rich people going to dinner and doing the things that they do. It doesn't seem like anyone is taking particular notice of you. There was a little bit of a hitch when the waiter he was taking the order and like you could just tell his body language was like, is she gonna take her hood off? Or like, this is a little weird that she has her hood up at dinner, but he's also not. He works at a place that's not going to ask you about that.
Right.
So, it's, again, not the weirdest thing he's seen today, probably. There's also an elephant man sitting at the table. So that's, while people know what, who Loxodons are, they don't see them every day. I think we
Right.
mentioned you're a fairly
Insular.
yeah, or just rare people. Not very populous. That's the word I wanted. Yeah.
Well, at that
Exactly.
point, I'm gonna start engaging with the plan. Like, look, we've got a couple of options. We can either just head on back to Sharn. We can go take a look at the maintenance shed. I explain almost everything that the conductor did about how things work
Mhm.
and how many people were down there and where the stone is, just to kind of make sure everybody has the same amount of information.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep. Zay/Hasomi, do you say much about your conversation with the elemental?
I'll tell them that the elemental seems satisfied with their current contract. They felt that they were being treated very, very well.
Well, that's good. Would this hurt the elemental at all if we remove the stone or cause the train to stop or anything like that?
No, I doubt it. Elementals aren't. They don't need their element. They are their element.
The
They can-
elemental powers the train, not. However, this elemental did specifically say that they were the master of this domain. We'd make no friends here.
So would they get angry if we tried messing with the train?
Possibly.
I will say from your being able to see how everything works, the parts of the train that the elemental runs are unaffected by the steam engine, right?
Okay.
The steam engine is an ancillary function from what the elemental floats the train and makes it go, and the steam engine does everything else. Right? Does that make sense? So that's.
So the brick doesn't really interact with the elemental at all.
Right, they're separate functions.
Okay.
So I don't believe it would hurt, but they probably would be pissed off.
Well, and I was trying to find out if there's a way that we could fake some kind of malfunction, but doesn't look like it.
Not without actively disabling the elemental.
Well, not without either doing that or making it look like somebody's trying to start a war. And of course, that's not what we want. We want it to look like. Well, what do we want it to look like? And they kind of look at
A robbery.
Well, it could look
Yeah,
like a
but by
robbery.
whom?
This is Stiv. It could look like a robbery,
Yeah.
or it could look like an accident.
That's my concern is how are we going to make it look like an accident when they haven't had this kind of accident in the history of ever?
Well, I'm sure if there were a rock slide or something going wrong with the terrain that the track goes through and it disrupts the track, like that could be a very natural accident, and at least as far as like the train stopping or the train getting interrupted. Beyond that, I don't know how, unless you blow up the entire train, I don't know how a stone going missing is going to be an accident.
We're not willing to have innocents be hurt by this.
Absolutely not.
So what we want to do is we want the train to stop. Looking at the map again. We want the train to stop at that station right before Xanthus. So what we want to do is somehow disable the track between that station and Xanthus. So they have to stop there.
Well, I was thinking that we would use that as a way to get away, as opposed to the thick forest and sheer cliffs and stuff like that. That's our just landmark for escape. But if I was misunderstanding in that, please correct me.
No, I'm just thinking through all the pieces. So we have to have the stone already by the time we get there. And there has to be a reason for the train to stop there, because I don't think we can do. I personally don't think I can survive jumping from a train moving 100 miles an hour.
Absolutely, yeah, no. And that's why I was thinking about, can we utilize the natural environment to stop the train? And you're right, maybe it is. We have the train stop at that maintenance shed, and that's an easy way for us to board. But do we do it as a robbery or not? Is there another way that we can do this?
Well, that's what I'm wondering is if we can somehow pose as maintenance workers, or inspectors or something. How do we make it so that they want to?
So a common knowledge thing. This isn't in character. Common knowledge is so the reason why they have a monopoly on this is their dragon marks allow them to work on it. So an engineer would have at least a weak dragon mark. I mean, not an engineer, like somebody who came in to fix the train. Like you need the dragon mark to interface with the technology of the train. You don't need it to interface with the boiler thing. That's just an alchemical rock. But if they don't know what's wrong with the train or if the track is broken, you need the Orion dragon mark to service that.
How? Well, I'm actually gonna ask Nix this. How easy is it to forge a dragon mark on somebody?
On who, darling?
On any one of us.
I can pull it
I'm
on
not saying-
myself. Hasami, can you change what you got going on?
No.
Okay. Well, so I can fake it. And if I'm the face, we just got to make the rest of you look passable. Which, Alaebas is human, is that right?
Half
No,
elf, I
he's
think.
wood elf.
Oh, wood elf. That's
You're,
right.
oh, he's a wood elf. Okay. So, Ventuz, you might have to sit this one out, buddy.
Well, there's a couple of yes, you're right. I'm not up front, especially because assuming they use the same staff for the same route, the conductor and I are besties at this point.
Sure.
But
I mean, who would they pull over for?
well, I think that's up to us to create, right? So we can either do something where we actually provide interruption to the railroad, or I think actually that's probably the best way to do it. We provide interruption to the actual either landscape or the magically anchored plates to get it to stop there and say, you know what, we're working on it. We figured out a way, to kind of have it continue because there's other interruptions down the track leading up to Xanthus, but we need to get into the boiler. That's the only thing. And then maybe one or two of us are on the train as passengers or providing cover from the outside. Not everybody has to go into and pose everything as workers.
Sure. I mean, Ventuz and Alaebas could pose, even with our new friends, as new money, and Hosami and I could come in as the maintenance workers.
I think Alaebas and I made an impact. So
I believe that the conductor had spent quite a long time with both Ventuz and myself. So,
well, yes. So perhaps Hosami will have to put on a disguise.
or depending on when you do this, they may return their.
We could also just see which conductor is working on which train and pick a different train.
But
Presumably.
my question is this. So you want to stop, the current plan that we're discussing is to stop the train using, let's say, a landslide as the placeholder. And then have multiple people stationed to come on as maintenance workers? Except there's no reason for any maintenance if you have a landslide.
Well,
Oh.
my thought process, and again, it may be flawed. Shockingly, this is the first time I've tried to plan a train heist. But
I mean, we really did steal that train from last
Well,
year.
we more derailed it than stole it.
And to say that that was planned and a heist is overly aggrandizing what happened.
Stiv leans forward in her chair, very, very serious, like, "You've stolen a train?
Borrowed.
redirected.
This is incredible."
We gave it back.
I just mean,
Technically
what
not.
luck that we
Stop.
happened into your company, and you already have experience doing nearly what we need to do.
It's probably bad luck, but we'll keep going on this anyway. My thought process was, if we create a situation where we know the track above Xanthus, the track leading up to the maintenance shed, and the track leading to Xanthus, that there are intermittent disturbances that could be problematic for the train. So we are meeting them there at the maintenance shed with a workaround solution that requires access. That's the best I have for them, number one, to stop, and number two, for them to let whomever on.
But this stop is normally staffed. Do we know that?
I didn't think it was.
No, but they know it's there.
Yeah,
You notice that they slowed down just before we got there?
I don't recall if they did. I don't think they did.
I just remember looking off the train and seeing it behind some trees. I don't remember us stopping.
No, we didn't stop. But presumably they've got some sort of signal that the conductor has to look at and make sure. Not conductor. Engineer has to. Engineer? Oh, it's the elemental. Is the elemental the engineer?
The elemental is the elemental.
Right, but who's actually driving the train?
Oh, that's the engineer. Yeah, there's.
The engineer, okay. So presumably there's something the engineer has to look at to make sure he doesn't have to stop there. Unless, do we have shortwave technology in this?
Well,
World?
there are various
Aesthetic.
communication technologies that magic that exists. So,
Well, let's go check out. Let's go check out the maintenance shed. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to take a look at it and see if there is maybe like a switch that we can pull or something along those lines that'll make things way easier than what I was talking about and creating a natural upheaval.
yes, and Stiv says, in the scope of our timeline, we have plenty of time. It was, we were trying to avoid this taking weeks and weeks. I'm happy to go do this, investigation of the shed with you. Discovering the shed was a bit of a revelation for us, and it led to the formation of the initial plan. So we'd very much like to go look at it with you.
That makes sense.
Well, I'm all for it.
We're closer here than we are in Sharn, so, and then we can scope out that area as well between here or there in Xanthus in order to make sure, see if there's an easy way for us to get away, because getting the thing is only part of it. We want to make sure that we can not get caught and not get into a fight with the guards.
Oh no, that
Absolutely.
would end poorly.
For the guards.
Well,
What?
it's my understanding that the guards are able to call on the elemental for help, which is why people don't rob the train.
That makes sense. It also makes sense why the Warforged Rose told you that someone's around even if you can't see them. The elemental is bound to the car. So.
So we go in the morning?
Yes.
Well, we have to get dessert first. They have gold shaved truffles that are a gold apiece, and I want to try them.
Of course, whatever you like. If you would feel more comfortable as well, it would be Gore and I would be happy to wait here in town, and get you a boat and do all those things, and maybe you'd be able to move more quickly and subtly without us at your side.
I look down and look back at them, and then cock my head questioningly.
We are not. Well, we've never stolen a train before. Is what I mean. And
We've only done it the once. Let's be clear.
I don't think we stole it.
we also saw you in the fight at the tavern. You are accomplished. I just wanted to make the offer. It may be safer for you to go without us.
It does make sense. And it's just a little bit of sightseeing anyway.
A small group climbing, 6 people climbing up the cliff is substantially more complicated than 4.
Wait, climbing? Oh. I'll stay down in the boat.
What?
Or
Why
I'll...
don't I
I'll go
climb?
along.
Why don't I climb the cliff? Does anybody have any levitation spells or anything? Or well, I guess you all have a token of feather fall. So
Yeah. There was something I specifically took for climbing, too, because I knew I was going to have issues with it. Funny enough. But I got to find it.
I wonder how much wands cost.
a wand of climbing.
The magic items don't have gold costs attached to them in D&D Beyond.
That's annoying.
Let's see. A wand of in the old system, in the SRD, we have let's see, levitation. Oh, that's 4,500 gold, but that may not be applicable to the current D&D. Yeah, so it lists what a wand of magic missiles is, but it doesn't say what it costs.
I've got a player's handbook.
Wait, I see here. Okay, so there's a cost for all magical items, and it would be between 100 and 500 gold. And so I think that's actually pretty reasonable for if you want to have them go get you a wand of levitation.
Sure.
There's probably a magic vendor in town that will sell you that for 500 gold. That's certainly within their budget to go get something like that.
Sure. I mentioned that would be very helpful for us.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think levitate is a pretty common spell that people would put into a wand. So we'll say 500. It doesn't matter because they're going to pay for it. And yeah, so at dinner they say, okay, well, we'll go in the morning. We'll get you, we'll procure a wand for you, and give you the funds to be able to get yourself a boat and arrange all that, and then we'll stay here in town so that you can move more quickly without us.
So I actually have a rope of climbing.
Oh, awesome.
So
how long is it?
3 pounds.
That's nothing.
60 foot.
Oh, okay. Because I think we said the cliff was 40 or 50 feet. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's. So do we not need the wand of levitation?
I mean, I don't think it'll hurt.
I think we may as well.
I want to try and find that.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
Because it's now I'm interested because I've never seen the prices listed before, and now somebody is saying that it's out there. So now I want to know. Oh yeah, okay. So rare items are 500 to 5,000 gold, just depending, I guess. So that's good. That gives you a ballpark of what that would be. And then if we look up magic items with various wands, let's see. This is fun. So Wand of Web is uncommon. Radio. Web's a very powerful spell. Wand of Fear is rare. Binding is rare. Fireballs is rare. Yeah, that's a step up from Levitation for sure. Oh no, that's Wings of Flying. Yeah, okay. No, I wanted to have, because like they wouldn't spend 5,000 gold on something because that's like a ship. Like you go get a decent boat.
You could just go get a different boat.
Yeah. But an uncommon wand of 500 gold is definitely okay. That's good. I just wanted to get a sense of now we all have a sense of scope and value. So, so their plan as they laid it out is they're going to go get you a wand, give you some cash to arrange a boat and whatnot. And assume. Well, do you want to leave in the morning? Do you want to leave in the middle of the night? What's your plan?
I mean, I think morning's fine to me, but
I mean, it's more likely that we're going to get spotted during the day, though.
True.
Legit question. I don't know if I have night vision.
I don't think you do.
I don't think I do either. So, if that's the case, and doing stuff at night's not going to help.
Who wants to roll to see how close we are to a full moon?
I will roll. What do you want me to roll? Just 2d10?
Yeah, before you do, I'm going to say 10 or 11 is a full moon. And then however far we get from that is the phase of the moon. So...
Okay.
So 2 and 20 would be new moon.
Okay.
So now let's roll.
Is that 20?
That says 20. Okay, so it's new moon. There is no moon
Must be
out
Monday.
right now, which actually may be to your purpose, but not great if you don't see in the dark.
Yeah.
How much gold do you have, Rob?
Got some.
Because you could buy. There's like glasses
Goggles
of dark
of night
vision. Or
vision.
something. Yeah. Let me find the magic items.
Well, is there a potion of night vision? Because
Oh, maybe.
that's probably way cheaper. Or I can ask them maybe.
Let's
Hey.
see. There's nothing literal potion of dark vision, but that sometimes they name them weird things.
It's true. Does Eberron only have one moon?
Oh no,
What
there's like
the cat is
13
asking?
moons.
Oh,
That is no moon.
so are they all on a new moon? Are we looking at like an astrological like?
Yeah,
Is this a
actually,
big
there's
portent?
probably no version of a fully dark night except for once every 400 years. And yeah, actually, I'm really glad you mentioned that because the moons are a major component of the setting, and I'm glad you mentioned that.
Master Vidar did it. I can't take credit for it. I'm
Okay.
just a mouthpiece.
Yeah, well, thank you, Master Vidar. That was an excellent thing to mention. Let's see. So, a potion of healing is common, and greater healing is uncommon. So, I'm going to say you could have a potion of dark vision for 100 gold.
All right, I'll do that then. Oh,
Okay.
wait, 100 gold?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I can't find anything more specific than that.
you said 100. I heard 10.
Mm.
I I'm less than enthusiastic about also paying 100 gold to.
Yeah.
So I also don't have dark vision.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm not about this life.
In fact,
I vote for
if
Disney.
I had to guess, the only person with dark vision is
Yes, I can see in the dark.
yeah.
Magic items.
Yeah.
Potion of. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's not.
Yeah, I just went through all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy
Like
to
if
say
we go early in the morning, like at dawn, then we're very unlikely to get spotted and
Yeah.
also less likely to get.
well, even in the dead of night, you're going to be in low light conditions, not full dark.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know, unless you go wandering into the woods or something, but you're going to be at the edge of the woods where the train track goes. So,
Great.
Couldn't we tell them that we wanted to do like a backpacking trip and then send them away to have them come pick us up at a certain time?
who?
Our boat
boat?
guy.
Oh, well, I just figured you were going to rent a boat.
Okay,
Right.
that works too.
Yeah.
Like, but rent a boat meaning no driver.
Crew?
Right.
Yeah.
Do none of you know how to pilot a boat?
We
Is
can
animal-
try anything.
Animal handling, work that out?
I mean, it's an in-character choice. If you tell me you know how to pilot a boat, then I
Yeah,
believe you.
I would. I lived on a port town my whole life. I think I can steer a boat.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. You know, unless you're afraid of the water or something like that, then that's.
No.
Oh yeah, and you all didn't you all get the krakens to clear out of a part of the bay or something? There's a whole thing about that.
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, you
We've
all are
been
very
on boats.
experienced on the water. So we'll get you one of
So
those
we could just charter a boat. Like we can rent a boat.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You just rent like a little sailboat that the four of you are on and go out and handle that. Easy peasy.
That sounds good to me. I think early morning would be perfect.
Okay. So the dinner's done. They make arrangements for a fancy hotel. You all get to sleep for a bit, and fortunately, the docks are up before anybody else in every city I've ever been in. And there is somebody there who will rent you a boat, and the siblings cover the cost of that so that you don't have to worry about that. They did or did not get you a wand of levitation.
I think we still asked for it, right?
Yeah, we asked for it.
Okay, so last night they went to a couple different magic shops and bought a wand of levitation for you. And they hand that off to, who do they think is a wizard? Oh, they've seen Ventuz do magic. Right? Didn't you do Eldritch Blast in the fight?
I don't think I did. I thought I was
Oh.
just trying to talk to them. I think I was actually just trying to convince them to leave.
And Pooja did... Oh, but no, you're Hisomi right now.
Yes, I am Hisomi. So unless they just assume because I'm associated with Zay that I'm also a magic type person.
But they don't know you, so I don't think they're going to just hand you a 500 gold item.
Yeah.
So I think they'll just hand it to Nyx, since she does most of the talking, and they assume they're in charge. So yeah, they hand that off, and they say, "Okay, well, we'll be at the hotel. Just don't get into trouble, and we'll see you when you get back."
Well, should we
Sounds-
meet you in Sharn instead? Like, should we come all the way back here?
Oh, well, that's a bit of a hike back.
I mean, we have to come back here to return the boat.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
So, good luck, and we'll see you tonight, I assume. Okay. All right. And they, stand back as you set sail, and the four of you head off into the dawn twilight, and the boat sinks, and no.
Boat sinks, we all die.
The
Total
end.
shift.
We did it.
That's what I've never understood about the DMs out there who are like, I'm gonna kill these party members. Like, you could kill everybody at any time. That's not a challenge
Right?
or a thing to be proud of. Like, that actually means you're bad at your job.
I'm not
Right? It means you didn't plan your encounters correctly.
Right.
yeah.
Or have any flexibility when it started to, like,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway. We've all played in that game.
Yep. Oh, yes. So I think we're going to wrap there tonight, because I want to check
Kill
in.
the party next session.
What's that?
Kill the party next session.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yep.
We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
So what I want to do, I'm going to take some notes here. So there's a system that some folks like to do, including me, called Stars and Wishes. Have any of you never heard of the process of Stars and Wishes? Okay, great. So Stars and Wishes is an opportunity to go around and with a star, you mention something that happened in the session that you just thought was awesome. Like, so-and-so did a great job talking to the bartender, or I loved it when you did XYZ. Just something that you thought was cool. And then a wish is something you want to tell me that you want to see in the game. And it's specifically, just from a safety point of view, this is not about, like, a wish is not like Rob telling Eli, I wish you would do XYZ, right? It's not like you're not going to aim it at each other. You can tell me, like, hey, I want to see vampires in the story, or I want more of the magic items, or, just whatever it is that you're either not seeing or not seeing enough of, or an experience that you're hoping to get out of it. It could also be meta stuff too, like, I hate this dice roller and I don't want to use it anymore. Like, things like that. Like, I want to play in person at the studio. Like, okay, that's a good wish. I have that too. There's just nothing I could do about it.
Right.
I want to hug you. I
Yeah.
wish I could
I
hug
want
you.
hugs.
Yeah, me
I
too.
want hugs.
But
Anyway.
I miss physical human contact.
normally,
My friends just had their babies, and I want to go kiss those
No,
babies.
there's some babies out there. So
Anyway.
the normally what we do is we go around and everybody does a star, and then whoever does the last star does the first wish, and we go in reverse order. And it's really like a fun thing. It's not a roast, right? It should be like a thing that you
Except for
really
Rob.
enjoyed or appreciated about someone else at the table. And the main, like, safety thing I want to say about wishes is that is like about the game itself and not about your fellow players. Just because, like, if there is something like that to bring up, let's bring it up privately, because that's obviously, like, I want to talk about it if you're upset about something, but that's
Let's not put it on blast in front of the whole internet.
right. And I also
What? Why not?
just to model for the internet, I highly encourage you to do Stars and Wishes at home, because sometimes folks are sitting there going like, man, I cannot believe we do so much of blah 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 blah, and they're just not going to bring it up because there's no opportunity. And sometimes just opening the door makes it so it's easier to, like, oh, I actually need to say this, and now I'm not an asshole for saying it, right? Because you've invited me to talk about it. So why don't we do, I don't know if you could see the screen I'm looking at, but let's go Eli, Pooja, Rob, Claire, go around counterclockwise, and then go clockwise from Claire to do the wishes. So the first star would be Eli. Also, you could say, I don't know, nothing jumped out at me, because if you feel on the spot or whatever, you don't have to say.
And I just say, I think everybody shined in the episode. I think we all had our key moments, and I think that, we all had a great time with the game. This one, like, we had the bar scene with Nyx, we had Ventuz and Zay, at the train, and then, so I think it was a really great time.
Cool.
Palling around in Eberron.
Cool. All right. Pooja?
I was gonna say that I really loved the that interaction, the whole busker thing
Oh.
Yeah.
with Alaebas, and
Damn, that was mine.
like it was the whole, like, the setup where he, like, pulls it out and everybody's kind of cool with it until the dude comes. Like that whole, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. Rob?
I actually like the thing that kind of stuck out to me, and it's interesting to see how it's going to get worked through, is I really liked Eli's dissension. He's like, no, this is what you guys are planning is a bad idea. Like, this is like, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to make it easy for everybody and just go along with it. But I'm under protest here. So I kind of dug that, and I'm really curious to see where it goes personally.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for growth in that sort of scenario, so that's cool. Claire?
I actually have stars for everybody. Yeah, just piggybacking on the busking thing, that was really great. Also, I really liked how Ventuz and Alaebas had dissension. Like, they weren't just like ready to go, let's go rob a train. Like they were really playing their thing. And I really appreciated Zay's emotional labor that she put into with Ventuz, trying to be like, hey, this dude is being racist and we're not okay with that, right? And like, I could see the emotional labor, and I'm like, I want to piggyback, but I don't know how to help best. And Jason, thank you for letting us like find that. That was awesome.
Oh, I didn't have to do anything. That was all you guys. And Claire, what wishes do you have?
I do like I like hitting things.
Okay.
I like killing stuff.
Yeah.
So I always like to have, even if it's just like a random encounter, I always like to have a little bit of slashy in a session.
Totally understand. Yeah, I do too.
Oh, were we doing wishes with our stars? Sorry,
Oh no, we're just going in reverse now.
Oh,
yeah, I was
Claire
last with my stars. So I was first.
The one who is last is first,
So
and the one who is
confused.
first is last.
Last will be
Lies.
first, and the first will be last.
all I know is that the spice is life.
Yes,
The
also
spice
that.
is life. Spice is life.
Rob, did you have a wish?
Not, you know, I'm thinking, and I realize that that's new for me, but I don't off the top of my head.
Okay.
But what I would like, I mean, piggybacking on what you were saying earlier, is for everybody that's you know been talking in chat and stuff like that. It's people that have been here for most of 3 episodes. Like, I'd be curious to hear their wishes.
Oh yeah.
You know, kind of like what they would like to see.
Yeah. What do you want to see from us? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't mean we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
And
but-
if people are listening to this, like when you're listening to the podcast, feel free to go to the Happy Jacks forums.
Yep.
our-
happyjacks.org/forum is one way to get there. You can tweet at us.
You could tweet us, or you could go to the Discord.
I will say,
Yeah.
just ahead of that one, I am terrible at using Discord, so feel free to @ me on Discord, or I just won't see it. So, but I don't mind when people @ me on Discord, because otherwise I don't know. So, but yeah, that's all. That's a great note. Yeah, good suggestion. Pooja, did you have a wish separate from that? I know you were commenting on that, but
Oh yeah, I was just you know, I love the kind of house hierarchy situation in Eberron. So I would love to see like more interaction with people from the houses.
oh, okay, more direct house interaction.
Yeah, like some of that intrigue and like that kind of stuff, and
Okay.
and to be like to have a direct line into it. It doesn't have to be somebody high up, but like, you know,
Cool. Yeah, that's
'cause obviously
fine.
we're not that special
Good
yet.
to know. Well, and like you said, I don't know if I can deliver on all these, but these will definitely, I mean, they're putting them in my notes, and I will do what I can.
Sure.
Eli?
I feel like mine you should deliver on immediately,
Okay.
which is more loot time.
More LUTE or LOOT?
LUTE.
Okay.
Loot.
More loot time.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I think that honestly I don't have one yet because I feel like right now we're just letting the story breathe and like get into the stride of what's going on. So like I think maybe down the road I may have something to say, but as of right now, like I'm just enjoying being in the world and learning.
Yeah, I also thought this might be a good episode to introduce the stars and wishes, and then next time you'll be playing thinking, oh yeah, we're going to talk about stars and wishes at the end, and I don't know, maybe something will pop into your mind while you're thinking about that. So
Are you asking us, is your wish that we use forethought?
no.
Oh.
Please don't do that. It's much more fun for me if you don't, because I don't know how this is supposed to go. My note says half orcs train heist.
Half orcs train heist. Well, that's accurate.
So far,
We
you're
got
right.
We did it.
I mean, technically, we haven't done it yet. We're barely
That's
in
a
the
good
planning
point.
stage.
Yeah.
And
That's a
we're
good point.
We
kind
could have
of
done
like have
something-
not figured it out.
It also would have been very easy to pivot to some other activity, so whatever.
That's true.
But I will say thank you, everybody. I'm not going to do a star or wish because I feel like it's a little awkward for the DM to do that. But I do really appreciate all of the what each of you is putting in, and I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. So thanks for coming to play with me, and thank you for everyone who's coming to watch live or later, or listen, obviously, and just really appreciate any and all support for the show. So why don't we go around one last time, say who you are and where we can find you, and then we'll sign off. Let's start with Eli.
Eli, you can find me on Twitter at Ignatius Wang.
Okay. Pooja?
Hi, I'm Pooja. You can find me on Twitter at LA Daisy Girl, pretty much everywhere else as Forgotten Saves. And we play this game obviously every 2 weeks. And I am here at Happy Jacks on alternating Sundays with our Glittering Night Vampire 5e game.
Cool.
It's real good.
Rob?
Very cool. Yeah, I'm Rob. I don't know. Like, I'm just here, man.
Okay.
Just here.
You could stalk Rob online at ClipperRob on Twitter.
Don't stalk people.
No, that's rude.
Don't do
But
that.
It's on the screen, so I want to read it out loud for folks just listening.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. If you want to talk to me, cool. I'd probably answer, maybe.
Claire?
Yeah, I'm Claire. I am everywhere. Insta, Twitter, TikTok at SEEBEEDUBSCB
Cool. And I'm Jason. You can find me on Twitter at It's Probably Okay. That's the main place to find me. I'm doing this game every other Sunday. I have every other game Mondays. The Mondays that we're not doing this is the Monday that we're playing with Kadave, running Things from the Flood. So that's a lot of fun. I've been doing all kinds of projects. You can find all that on Twitter. So that's it for us. I'm going to throw the calendar up here at the end. And if you are just listening, you could go check it out at happyjacks.org/schedule for upcoming shows. And then also /shows is all of the shows we've ever done. So it's anything everywhere forever. Current shows, past shows, everything. All that stuff is very, very cool. We have so many good shows. It's crazy. So go check out that stuff. If you're new to Happy Jacks, we are usually an in-studio, in-person show. Obviously, we can't do that right now, but if you're looking for us in the future, or just wondering about what we do, we're a group of nerdy friends who sit around and play games together. So that's kind of our jam. And we will, as a group, see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.